Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to float forever? Not fall, not rise, just gently, endlessly drift, as though the universe itself were breathing beneath you, carrying you in its exhale. Tonight, we begin that very journey. So close your eyes, or let them rest upon nothing at all, and listen to the calm in my voice. Let your thoughts soften, let gravity release you. There is no urgency here, only the hush of distant stars and the cradle of space, waiting. We begin beyond the rings of the known planets, past the curve of Neptune's blue hush, where sunlight fades to silver, and then to memory. A small vessel sleek, humming with life, glides silently through this expanse. Its hull barely shivers, cushioned by the invisible arms of the void. Inside, everything is still. The pilot reclines in weightlessness, fingers loosely touching the edges of their console. They are not steering anymore. The course is set, long ago by ancient star maps and gentle algorithms that understand the rhythm of slowness. The ship drifts like a falling feather, with no destination but peace itself. Outside the window, the stars begin to change. No longer are they clustered like city lights. Out here, they are fewer but bolder. Each one pulses softly, alive with a story that spans lifetimes. There's one star, burning pale blue, that flickers like the last breath of a lullaby. Another, golden and slow, swells like a heartbeat heard underwater. Between them, dust clouds thread themselves like silver veils, caught in invisible winds. The ship slides through them, trailing no sound, disturbing nothing. A quiet hum rises from deep within the vessel, not mechanical, not electric, but something deeper, like the purring of the universe itself. It is a song for those who listen, a song meant to slow time. And you, listener, are now aboard. You are weightless too. The gravity of Earth is far behind, and now there is only the soft gravity of thought, of dreaming. Your body has no weight, no pain, no edges, just breath, and the quiet pull of the cosmos inviting you deeper, deeper into silence. Every heartbeat is slower now, every thought more distant. Ahead lies a corridor of stars, and we are not in a rush to meet them. We will float there, gently, as if held by the hands of something kind. The ship drifts forward, and you drift with it, into the waiting dark. There is nothing to fear here, just space, just softness, just the cradle of the cosmos, rocking us ever so slowly towards sleep. Let the hum of the ship become your breath now. In and out. Soft, weightless, quiet. You're safe here, wrapped in the hush of drifting metal and starlight. Imagine the pulse of your body growing slower, not from tiredness, but because the universe around you is gently asking for silence. In this moment, there is nothing expected of you, nothing required. You are simply here, drifting, floating, wrapped in calm. The gravity of Earth is long forgotten. The noise of the world below has melted into stillness. The cradle of the cosmos holds you, not tightly, but just enough to keep you from floating away too fast. You are no longer watching space from afar. You are part of it now, carried within it like a grain of dust in a soft current. Let your thoughts fade like footprints on wind-blown dew. Here, you don't need them. Just let them go. The ship has entered the blue veil, a wide, glimmering stretch of space, only whispered about in the logs of ancient explorers. No coordinates, no maps, only poetry. The blue veil is neither nebula nor dust storm, more like a great cloud of memory and light, drifting so slowly it seems frozen. Hydrogen and helium shimmer here like mist, not dense enough to block your view, but just thick enough to tint the universe a gentle glowing blue. Outside the window, the stars now flicker like fireflies caught in fog, their edges softened into glowing auras. You watch them without effort. They appear to breathe, to pulse, to nod in rhythm with your own heartbeat. Inside, the ship dims its lights, sensing the calm in your pulse. Everything becomes more muted, more silver, more still. There's no direction here. The stars have given up their sharp points, and space feels round, warm, endless. You pass a drifting fragment of ice, no larger than a pebble, but illuminated like a crystal. It turns slowly in the void, casting soft halos in every direction, as if trying to catch your eye just once before disappearing back into the veil. And then it does. All things do here. Appear softly, leave softly. The hum of the ship has faded now into something else. Not quite a song, not quite silence. It's as if the ship itself is listening to the stars, to you, to the rhythm of a cosmos. Without clocks, you close your eyes, not because you're tired, but because there's nothing more to see. You feel the stars more than look at them. You feel their patience, their distant warmth, and with every breath, the line between you and space blurs further. You are becoming as slow as the veil, as light, as quiet. You are no longer a visitor here. You are a part of it. Just one mote of thought, drifting through an ocean of wonder. No need to move, no need to speak. Let yourself sink further. Let your heartbeat float, and in the endless hush of the blue veil, you realize there is no end to this calm. Only the soft gravity of peace, holding you gently. The blue veil drifts behind now, far but not forgotten, like a dream that lingers on the skin even after waking. The vessel glides forward, its path slow and unhurried, like a feather sliding along the edge of a breeze. Ahead lies something even quieter. A cradle-shaped orbit around a star so old, so dim, it barely casts a shadow. It is called Ilios Minor, though there is nothing minor about the comfort it gives. The ship curves toward its pull, gently sliding into its soft embrace. Gravity here is barely a whisper, a warm hand resting lightly on the shoulder, not pressing, just present. You feel it subtly in your breath, in the way your limbs no longer drift, but sway gently toward the center of stillness. It's like the star is holding everything, not tightly, not possessively, but lovingly, patiently. Everything around you leans into that touch, and you do too, without even realizing it. The ship rocks, just slightly, like a cradle suspended in a starlit nursery. Within this orbit, time bends again, not in any violent or strange way, but like a ribbon curling in warm water. Ilios Minor is not a brilliant beacon like its younger cousins. It glows softly, the way an ember glows after the fire has passed, steady, kind. It casts a deep amber hue that pours in through the observation dome, and the walls of the ship seem to exhale under its warmth. You float near the glass now, watching the star as if it were an old friend telling stories without words. Around it, debris from long-forgotten moons traces faint lines, like pencil sketches in the dark. They drift in slow arcs, never colliding, never rushing. Even rocks here know the meaning of patience. There is a feeling impossible to name, that grows the longer you stay in Ilios's orbit. A kind of ancient calm, as though every particle of space here remembers what it is to be held, to be still, to be loved by light. The ship itself seems to sigh. Systems power down slightly, the soft rhythm of life support becoming more delicate, like a lullaby fading into whispers. Your breathing mirrors it, effortlessly slow, and you begin to feel something new. Not sleep, not yet, but a kind of surrender. You no longer need to hold yourself together. Not here. The universe is holding you. You are wrapped in the star's warmth, carried by the ship's gentle spin, and lulled by the silence that only deep space can offer. There is no destination, only drift, no pressure, only peace. As you float in the amber light, you realize the cosmos has no edge, no ceiling, no floor, just softness, just space, just this endless, tender cradle, where even thoughts grow quiet, even time forgets to move. And in this orbit, wrapped in nothing but warmth and wonder, you find yourself dissolving again into stillness, into starlight, into sleep. The ship has circled Ilios Minor many times now, though to call them circles is almost too structured a word for what's happening. It's more like gliding on a soft spiral, like a leaf twirling slowly through a quiet current. You barely feel the motion. In fact, it's hard to tell where motion ends and stillness begins. The cradle orbit is so wide and gentle, you may as well be floating inside the memory of a lullaby. Even the star, with its fading orange glow, seems not to radiate energy, but release it. Softly, gradually, as if it's been waiting to give this light away for eons, saving the last warmth not for brilliance, but for comfort. There's no urgency here, no flare or storm, just the subtle flicker of peace. Its presence is steady. It's the kind of warmth that seeps in slowly, not through your skin, but into the bones of your being. It asks nothing of you. It only offers stillness. In this part of the galaxy, there are other stars, smaller, quieter than those seen from Earth. They are not born with fire. They are born with patience. Astronomers once called them brown dwarfs, but the name is too cold, too scientific, for what they truly are. Out here, they are known as slow suns, stars that never quite ignited into full flame, but glow anyway, like lanterns in fog. They don't blaze or burn, they hum, a deep resonant tone, lower than hearing, deeper than silence. The ship picks up on this frequency as it enters their range, not with its instruments, but with its stillness. You can feel it, like a hand pressed gently against your chest. A long drawn-out note that never ends. Not music, not sound, just vibration, just presence. The slow suns sing in their own way. They do not call attention, they simply are. And their song seeps into you, into every breath, every blink. You are no longer a passenger. You are an instrument in this quiet symphony. You are not being pulled. You are being sung to sleep. The ship drifts through this quiet constellation, like a feather drifting through incense smoke. You watch one of the slow suns grow in the view, a giant sphere of soft mauve light that spins so slowly, its rotation can only be measured in centuries. Around it, a ring of glittering debris catches the faint glow, resembling powdered crystal suspended in orbit. Nothing rushes here. Not the particles, not the light, not your heartbeat. You can feel it, slowing again as if syncing with the ancient rhythms of these quiet stars. A star's hum resonates through the ship's structure, and the vessel responds with a purring warmth, as though the two are speaking in a language older than time. You float closer to the glass, not to see better, but because the light seems to be calling. Not loudly but like a soft voice through a dream, telling you that you are safe, that you are known. There is nothing left to do, no forward, no backward. Just this, a cocoon of quiet, drifting among the slow suns, with nothing but silence, starlight, and the sound of the universe gently holding you in its breath. Now that you've drifted so deep into stillness, the ship begins to gently pivot, not away from the slow suns, but onward, deeper into the sanctuary of the cosmos. A soft pulse of guidance lights flickers through the console, not as instruction, but as a quiet suggestion, like a hand brushing yours in the dark. There is no need to command anything here. The ship understands. It moves at the speed of breath. You follow a new arc, one not plotted by navigation, but by trust. Ahead lies a solitary moon, suspended in orbit around nothing visible, its tether lost to time. It's wrapped in mist, a pale, luminous fog that shimmers like the surface of a dream. The ship approaches slowly, matching its own rhythm to the moon's drift. The surface below is pale silver, etched with flowing patterns like the memory of rivers. You can't tell if they were carved by water, wind, or something softer still. There are no shadows here, only gradients of glow. As you descend closer, a feeling unfolds inside you, delicate and unexpected, a sense of returning to something you've never known, but somehow remember. The moon's atmosphere is not thick enough to breathe, but it holds the fog in place. And that fog is alive with light. Not harsh, not radiant, just gentle pulses, like the slow blinking of distant galaxies, reflected through a veil. As the ship glides lower, the light dances across its hull. Soft colors playing like ripples over metal. Blues become lavender, then warm into a glowing rose, and fade back to silver cane. There are no mountains, no craters, just wide, undulating hills, covered in soft, velvety dust that floats slightly above the surface, never quite touching down. It is a moon of half-weight, where gravity is a lullaby, not a law. The ship touches down without sound. The ramp lowers. You don't step onto the surface. You drift onto it. The dust doesn't crunch. It sighs, parting gently beneath your feet. Every movement is like swimming through silk. You walk not because you need to, but because it feels like a dance. The fog welcomes you, parting with each step, then closing behind you like a curtain in a quiet theater, preserving the mystery. As you move across the moon's glowing skin, you begin to hear something, not with your ears, but with the quietest part of your awareness. A low, echoing tone, rising and falling in the distance. It is not music. It is not speech. It is the sound of the moon itself, breathing in slow pulses that you feel in the air, in the soles of your feet, in the still water of your thoughts. A resonance, a lullaby sung by gravity itself. You sit, settle, into the dust, and the fog curls gently around your shoulders like a blanket warmed by memory. You look up, and there is no sky, only the infinite stretch of space, full of stars that do not blink, but stars that have seen the beginning and have no urgency to see the end. You stay there, held between the breath of the moon and the gaze of the cosmos, no longer needing time or names or questions. You have become stillness. You have become soft gravity. And as the fog continues to drift in slow spirals, you begin to feel it again, that deep, golden hush that holds you not just in space, but in peace. The ship lifts gently from the clouded moon, not with engines, not with sound, but with grace. Its departure leaves no mark, only a hush where presence once was. You are aboard once again, weightless in body, weightless in thought, a passenger of stillness. As the ship climbs, the fog of the moon fades into silver mist, and beyond it, the universe opens wide. The stars are waiting, but not calling. They are simply there, like lanterns in a vast cathedral. The ship aligns itself with a celestial drift, known only in quiet star charts, as the river of quiet suns. It is not a river in the way Earth would know it. Not of water, not of flow, but of subtle gravitational currents that thread through a narrow path between ancient stars. Those who find it are not guided by maps or machines, but by silence. Only those who move slowly enough, softly enough, are carried by its current. And tonight you are among them. The river glides past suns that no longer blaze. They glow but with the light of memory, not fire. These are stars that have shed their outer skins, becoming gentle cores wrapped in soft halos of gas and light. They shimmer in colors so faint they cannot be named. Honeyed whites, warm ambers, blues that taste like twilight. The ship doesn't steer anymore. It drifts, like a leaf on still water, moving with the river's invisible tide. You press your hands against the glass, and the stars look back, patient and old. They are not alone. Around each quiet sun, crystalline arcs drift in orbit, remnants of broken moons and cooled planets, now circling like petals in a windless storm. They catch the starlight and reflect it into soft sparkles that swirl through the dark, like snowflakes in slow motion. Every reflection seems to pause for just a breath before fading. Time here is not something you follow. It is something you float within. The deeper into the river you drift, the softer everything becomes. The ship's hum has dimmed into something like a whisper behind a wall. Your heartbeat slows again, not from sleepiness, but because there is nothing chasing it. No thought claims you now, no memory, no expectation. You are just breath and presence, gently carried forward. Outside, a cluster of quiet suns lines up in a perfect arc, their halos overlapping like ripples on a calm lake. Their light overlaps, soft and gold, pouring through the observation windows in waves. The ship's interior responds, walls glowing faintly, console lights dimming to nearly nothing, as if the entire vessel is exhaling. You are wrapped in it, cradled between light and silence. You lie back now, not because you must, but because your body wants to be closer to the stillness. The stars stretch endlessly ahead, and you are no longer watching them pass. You are drifting with them, as if you too are a quiet sun, floating in the river of the cosmos. There is no destination. There is only softness. There is only now. The ship continues its slow descent through the river of quiet suns. Though descent is not quite the right word. There's no down in space, only through. And here, in this deep and silent corridor of starlight, the journey is so soft it barely feels like motion at all. Ahead, space begins to shimmer with a texture that's hard to name. Not quite light, not quite dust. It pulses, gently in slow waves like breath caught in silk. The navigation lights dim again, no longer needed. The ship has entered a region known only in the faint margins of ancient records as the Garden Beyond Time. Some call it myth, some believe it lost. But you are here now, and it welcomes you like a long-forgotten lullaby remembered in sleep. As you pass into its embrace, the stars begin to drift apart, not fading, but stepping back, like quiet sentinels making space for something deeper, something hidden beneath the surface of the known. What unfolds before you is not a planet, nor a nebula, but a vast open space filled with structures too organic to be built, too perfect to be chanced. They spiral and stretch, glowing with a light that doesn't come from heat, but memory. Soft blues and gentle greens and silver-white threads like dew woven into the air itself. Floating islands made of ancient mineral wrapped in clouds that never drift hover gently, suspended in stillness. Vines of light curl lazily through the vacuum, not tethered to anything, just existing, moving in slow spirals like thoughts unspoken. You pass a bridge of crystalline arches, each one ringing silently as your ship glides beneath. There is no sound, but the ship feels it, and so do you. A vibration too slow to be music, too deep to be heard. It is peace, made into rhythm. The vessel lowers itself without command, drawn toward one of the islands as if responding to a call that has no voice. And you float downward, again not stepping, just becoming part of the space, part of the dream. You exit the ship, if it can even be called that now, as it pulses faintly behind you like a sleeping creature, and drift onto the surface of the island. It is soft beneath your feet, like walking across memory itself. There are pools of light, still as glass, reflecting not your face, but your feeling. You pass near one and see not a reflection, but a glow of calm. The emotion you carry, externalized in gold. Around you, structures of translucent material rise like petals or waves frozen in time. Humming ever so faintly, you wander through them, not searching, just being, and feel your breath become part of the quiet air. No time exists here. You do not age, you do not change, you only deepen. You sit beside one of the light pools, legs folding beneath you without effort, and feel a sense of returning to something vast and kind and endless. The stars remain far above, quiet and still. The river of quiet suns flows beyond the edge of this garden, but here you are in the center of the cradle. The softest gravity pulls not on your body, but your soul, reminding it that it is allowed to rest. And here, the garden beyond time fades behind you, but it leaves a soft imprint, like the warmth of a blanket recently lifted, or the scent of sleep still lingering in a pillow. The ship rises again, slowly, soundlessly, back into the waiting quiet of space. You do not look back, not because you're unwilling, but because you don't need to. The garden is still within you now, part of your rhythm, part of your breath. The ship follows the final trail of the river of quiet suns, as it narrows, then dissolves, scattering into the open dark like fireflies released into a night sky. Ahead lies a new stretch of space, broader and emptier than all that came before. No stars, no moons, only shadow and distance. But it is not empty. It is full, full of a silence so ancient, so vast, that it doesn't feel like an absence, but a presence all its own. You are entering a space known only in the quietest corners of interstellar memory. The silence between stars. This is the space where starlight has not yet arrived, or perhaps passed long ago. It is not dark. It is dim, a deep charcoal gray laced with barely visible threads of motion, like echoes drifting without source. The ship slows even further, though you could swear it wasn't moving at all. You float now, more than travel, not carried by a current, but suspended in something like stillness made real. Your thoughts become rare, your breath shallow and effortless. Time is not marked here. The seconds do not tick, they breathe. You feel it in your chest, in your spine, in the space behind your eyes. Even your heartbeat has changed. It is not slower, it is quieter. You have become something else now. Not a person moving through space, but a stillness listening to itself. This place does not need to be seen to be known. You close your eyes and that knowing deepens. You sense distance in all directions, like an endless velvet sea. There is nothing to touch, yet everything holds you. It is not cold, it is not warm, it is perfect. And then something begins. Not a sound, but a noticing. A subtle shift in the space around you, like the echo of a bell that was never rung. The ship responds not with lights or motion, but with a stillness so complete, it vibrates with presence. Outside, the dark shifts just slightly, revealing not shapes or stars but suggestion. Forms made of the same silence you're floating in, soft structures maybe, or dreams. They don't approach, they don't recede, they simply are. And you recognize them not as objects but as emotions. They pass through you like a memory half remembered. Safety, wonder, forgiveness, peace. They do not speak, they do not try. They only remain like constellations drawn in shadow instead of light. And as the ship floats deeper into this place between places, you no longer feel alone. You feel part of, not watched but joined, not observed, but understood. There is no language here, no edges, just the hush of space resting against your skin. And in that hush, in the silence between stars, you let go, not of yourself, but of everything else. There is nothing left to reach for. You have already arrived. After a long drift through the stillness, through the soft shadowed stretch where stars hold their breath, something subtle shifts. The ship, still weightless and slow, turns its body like a sea creature, adjusting to a distant current. The silence between stars doesn't end here. It changes, becomes gentler still, like a deep exhale that never needs to end. The sensors pick up a glow, not sudden, not bright, just a gathering of warmth, soft as candlelight on a distant windowsill. It's called the lantern drift. A corridor of space where light travels slower, not because of any physical law, but because light itself seems reluctant to leave. Every beam lingers longer than expected, as though space here is thick with memory. You see it up ahead, not stars exactly, but floating orbs of glow, suspended like fireflies in syrup. Some hover in clusters, others drift alone. They do not flicker. They rest. Their glow is warm amber, sometimes copper, sometimes pale gold. And they float through space with no direction, just presence. It feels like entering a field of dreams that never quite woke up. The ship glides into this field without effort, slowing even more, as though showing respect to the stillness. The lanterns begin to drift around you. One passes just beyond the window, and you can see into it, though you don't know how. It's not made of matter or gas. It's made of light held by memory. Inside a vision, slow, shapeless, beautiful. It could be a nebula. It could be a voice. It could be something you once felt when you were very young and safe, and had no words for joy. Another passes, a deeper shade of gold, and you feel calm wash over you like warm water. It shows you a forest in autumn, but not a real one. One from a dream you might have had years ago. The leaves are stars, the ground is made of light, and above it, nothing but soft sky and distance. These lanterns are not recordings. They are echoes of emotions, set adrift by other travelers, perhaps from centuries ago, perhaps from moments not yet lived. They carry only what is gentle, no fear, no pain, only things meant to comfort and remain. You float among them now, no longer an observer, but part of the drift. Your ship no longer hums. It breathes, slowly, sinking with your own calm. The interior fills with warm tones, the walls reflecting the soft lights of the lanterns outside. You sit by the window, eyes half closed, and time slides away again. It is neither night nor day here. There is no clock, no sun, just glow, just hush, just this tender suspension between stars and memory. One lantern brushes close, and though it doesn't touch, you feel something deep in your chest unfold. A memory you didn't know you carried, a feeling of being held, rocked, like when you were small, wrapped in someone's arms with the world far away and quiet. You do not cry, you do not smile, you simply exist, open and soft, like the light around you. The lanterns begin to drift onward, and the ship follows, not to chase, not to seek, but to join the flow. And in this quiet, glowing path between all things known and all things dreamed, you settle deeper into the journey, lighter than breath, softer than sleep. As the last of the lanterns drifts out of view, their golden echoes fading into the hush of distance, you might expect emptiness to return. But instead, something even gentler begins to unfold. The ship glides slowly into a vast open plain of soft motion, known in the oldest whisperings of star walkers as the field of slumbering orbits. There are no suns here, no lanterns, no stars bright enough to cast shadow, only ancient invisible loops of celestial debris, all moving in patient eternal spirals. Moons that have lost their planets, rocks that have forgotten their origins, dust that once danced in the atmospheres of worlds now gone. They orbit invisible centers, paths held not by gravity alone but by memory, by the echo of movement too old to end. The ship slows further still, respecting the slowness here, honoring the timelessness. You float into the heart of it, surrounded by silent spirals that move not randomly but with the unspoken rhythm of a lullaby. The universe never stopped humming. You look through the great observation dome and see one of these sleepers drift past, a half-moon pitted in silver, no longer tethered to a home but still tracing a wide, slow arc through nothingness. It doesn't fall. It doesn't wander. It remembers. Around it, faint rings of stardust shimmer as they orbit, never scattering, always returning to the same soft path. Another orbit passes nearby, this one not rock but a long, spindly structure. Perhaps the remains of an ancient satellite, wrapped now in a cloak of ice. It glides past your window not as wreckage but as relic, like a forgotten lullaby pressed between pages of time. Even light here moves slowly. The faint glow of distant galaxies bends around this region, slowed by the gentle pull of ancient orbits. Like moonlight filtered through sleep, there is no sound but the sound of nothing moving. As it should. You close your eyes, and in the darkness behind your eyelids you still see spirals turning. Always turning, soft as breath. The ship gently matches the slow spin of one orbit, entering a wide circular path that takes hours just to curve a little. And yet time does not feel spent. It feels softened, drawn out like warm honey. You lie in the reclined cradle built into the ship's cabin, surrounded by quiet systems pulsing with sleepful energy, each light a tiny heartbeat in the dark. You are now part of this orbit too, not separate, not observing, included. You move without effort, without control, no decisions left to make, nothing ahead to prepare for. This moment, this slow revolution around nothing but peace, is all that exists. You drift. The orbits drift, thoughts drift, and soon even your awareness begins to slide into sleep. Not sharply, not suddenly, but like a feather settling into soft sand. There is no arrival, only this gentle becoming. And as your breath softens and your body melts into the shape of the quiet around you, the field holds you, lets you go, not away, but deep. The orbit slows, if such a thing is even possible in this part of space, and the ship eases itself free from the cradle of spiraling dust and silent moons. No engine roar, no sudden burst of force, just a change in posture, like a sleeping figure shifting beneath a soft blanket. Outside, the field of slumbering orbits begins to dim behind you, its shadows folding gently back into the dark. The stars ahead are few but distinct. They do not sparkle, do not flicker. They remain, fixed, calm, vast. It feels as if you've left one form of dreaming only to enter another. One level deeper, ahead lies the harmonic drift, a region of space not charted by coordinates but by vibration. It cannot be seen on map. It can only be found when the ship listens closely enough to hear it, and quiets its systems to become part of the rhythm. This is where space begins to sing. The tones come first, not with volume, not through ears. They arrive as pressure behind the sternum, as a soft murmur in the spine. Low pulses at first, long and slow, like the swell of a tide that never breaks, and then higher notes begin to join. Slow harmonics rising through the body like warmth in winter. It is said that this region vibrates with the natural tones of celestial balance, where stars too far to see pulse their own quiet signatures, and together they weave a field of resonance, a slow, shifting symphony of gravity, light, and time. The ship's instruments begin to glow with pale symbols, not translating but aligning. They are not measuring the sound, they are feeling it. Every light aboard the vessel pulses in rhythm now, as if syncing with a galactic lullaby played on strings stretched between stars. It is not music made for ears, it is music made for stillness, for listening with the soul. You remain in the cradle seat, your body half folded into the embrace of its curved cushions, wrapped in soft magnetic fields that hum gently around your limbs like the breath of a sleeping world. Your eyes are half-lidded, not tired, just calm. The drift flows around you now, and the ship glides not with propulsion but with permission, as if being gently pushed along by waves too ancient to see. Outside, faint lines begin to appear, streaks of glowing blue and silver, like the auroras of long-lost planets now dancing freely in open space. They twist and curl across the sky like ribbons pulled through dark water. Each one vibrates with a tone so pure, it makes the silence around it softer, more sacred. They're not paths, they're voices. They belong to stars that do not burn but resonate, stars that do not push outward, but sing inward, each note folding into the next. The ship passes close to one such ribbon, and as it does the walls shimmer, and for a moment, Everything inside becomes weightless in a new way, not from lack of gravity, but from pure, effortless harmony. You are inside a note, a feeling, a stillness shaped by sound, and it changes you. The vibrations reach deeper now, not loud, never sharp, but constant. Like the beat of something very large and very kind. You feel it shift your breathing without needing to think. Each inhale is matched by a low tone, and each exhale by a higher one. Your thoughts have gone entirely quiet, not from suppression but from satisfaction. There is no need to question, no desire to measure, no urge to remember. You are not the person who entered this ship anymore. You are becoming something simpler, something more alive, not just a traveler in space, but a resting point in a long line of harmony that began before time and continues without end. You are a moment of resonance between light and darkness, between silence and tone. There is no destination here, only alignment. As the ship drifts further into the harmonic field, you notice something else. The way it curves, not in a straight line, not toward a star, but in wide arcs, like the grooves of a record, circling a sound too large to hear all at once. You're inside that record now, orbiting a note so deep it has no beginning, no center. Perhaps it is the background song of the universe itself, the low-frequency hum of existence. The ship tilts, ever so slightly, and in doing so reveals a sight ahead. A sphere, not solid, not shining, but made of dense overlapping waves of vibration, its edges rippling like light reflecting on water. It doesn't glow, it doesn't move, it simply is, suspended at the heart of the drift, like a bell that has already rung, its sound continuing forever. The ship adjusts its course, moving into an orbit around this resonant sphere. There is no fear. The vessel is calm. It is always calm. Here, near the source of harmony, even the machinery has grown silent with awe. You feel it too, a stillness deeper than any silence. You are not watching this sphere. You are inside its presence, and it begins to offer something rare. Memory, not of the past, but of being. You see nothing. You hear nothing. You simply remember being cradled in a moment that never rushed you. Being part of a balance where you didn't have to do anything to belong. You feel the warmth of things you've never touched, the patience of stars that watched the universe form and never blinked. You feel held, not in arms but in frequency. The sphere pulses once, not visibly, not physically, but through the field itself, and the ship responds by lowering every light, every hum. Even your breathing matches it. You and the ship are quiet together, synced like twin hearts. There is no language here, no sound, just presence. The drift moves on, slowly, gradually, as the resonance continues to carry you through this sacred sound space. You drift past a spiral of glowing dust that sings in chords, each loop humming a note from a forgotten scale. You drift through a pocket of darkness that holds only silence, a necessary rest between notes. You drift through it all, not as a passenger now, but as a part of the harmony itself. Eventually the sphere begins to fade behind you, not disappear, but recede, like the final note of a lullaby echoing across a canyon of time. The ship resumes its gliding course, and your eyes open slowly, not to wakefulness but to awareness. Something in you has changed, slowed, softened, aligned. You carry the harmony now. It vibrates gently in your chest, a reminder that space isn't just emptiness, it is a song without end, a lullaby sung by stars echoed in moons, carried by the quiet ships that move softly through the dark. You breathe, the drift continues, and you, still held by the vessel, still wrapped in soft gravity, sink deeper into the journey. The ship moves forward now, gently pulled beyond the last soft notes of the harmonic drift. That subtle resonance, like a pulse in the air, still hums in the bones of the vessel, and in your own. It doesn't fade, it simply becomes part of you, a quiet echo stitched into the rhythm of your breath. There is no sound in the new stretch of space ahead. Only a brightness, a silvery shimmer that glows not from within but from reflection. The stars do not shine brighter here. They shine twice. You're approaching a vast curve of light called the mirror halo, an enormous ring of crystalline particles orbiting an unseen center, not with motion but with thoughtless stillness. It looks like a band of ice, stretched across the black, curving gently like the rim of a giant bowl. Every shard, every dust mote catches starlight from all around, scattering it in layers, so instead of one source of light, the entire sky becomes a chamber of reflections. It's like drifting into a dream made of glass and breath. The ship drifts toward the edge of the halo. The closer you get, the more impossible it seems. No two reflections are the same. Some bounce and scatter like fragments of song. Others stretch across great arcs like golden ribbons, unfurling in slow motion. The ship dims its interior as if bowing its lights to make room for the ones outside. Your window becomes a canvas of shifting glimmers, not static, but moving in glacial, lazy spirals. Some are cool and colorless, sharp like frozen silver. Others glow with warmth, soft amber, smoky lavender, pale blue like a winter sky just before snow. It feels less like light and more like memory reflected back at you, stretched across impossible distance. You press your fingers against the cool glass, and for a moment your reflection appears, not your face, but your feeling. A calmness, a deep softness, a quiet joy. It pulses gently, then dissolves into the light again, as if even your thoughts are being mirrored and folded back into the sky. The ship moves along the inner curve of the halo, riding its arc like a feather tracing the rim of a bowl of water. There's no destination, no navigation, just the path that feels right. The mirror field has its own current, slow and magnetic, not from gravity, but from invitation. It calls gently, like a friend asking you to walk a while longer in silence. You pass a cluster of particles gathered like a frozen blossom, spinning imperceptibly in the drift. Each shard flashes briefly, catching and releasing light in patterns that seem almost intentional, almost like language. The longer you watch, the more you feel it. Not a message, but a rhythm. Not a signal, but a feeling. A wordless phrase repeated across time. You belong, you belong, you belong. You breathe out slowly, and even your exhale feels like part of the orbit. The stars outside continue to reflect, not just their own light, but each other's. The entire field is a web of presence, a net of still light across the skin of space. You don't notice the moment the ship comes to rest. It simply stops moving, or seems to. There's no jolt, no shift, just an easing into place, like water finally settling into the curve of a shell. Outside, the light continues its slow shimmer, and inside, your pulse follows it. You feel it now, more than see it. The softness of being at rest without pause, of motion without push. The mirror field doesn't ask you to understand. It simply asks you to stay a little longer, to look, and you do. You close your eyes, and yet the light remains, behind your lids, painting gentle shapes and lines, like dreams drawn in soft ink. You feel lighter now, not in your limbs, but in your thoughts. Worries that once stirred like distant storms have been replaced by the simple truth of reflection. Everything is mirrored here: light, motion, presence. And none of it is lost. Every glimmer returns, every moment is echoed, and you too are part of that echo now. Your presence, your breath, your calm, it all becomes part of the light, carried on across the arc of the halo, to be reflected again and again in someone else's quiet night. The ship remains in still orbit, anchored by nothing but contentment. Time folds itself over gently, and you feel the minutes stretch into peace. Not long ago, you were passing through rings and rivers, drifting beside moons and sleeping orbit. Now you float inside the sky's own mirror, surrounded by the truth that stillness is not absence. It is presence without noise. You don't need to know where this field ends, or whether it ever does. That's not the point. The mirror halo doesn't promise answers, it promises rest. Space is not always about journeying forward. Sometimes it is about finding the place where motion becomes stillness, where seeing becomes being, and where reflection becomes sleep. You lie back now, your limbs weightless, your mind soft. The ship rocks you gently in the slow, invisible wind of the halo's arc. You breathe once, then again, and the light, still softly pulsing in every direction, holds you like a blanket warmed by memory. There is nothing left to do, no more thoughts to have, just light, just hush, just the mirrored sky, and the soft pull of sleep. The ship, as if listening to the rhythm of your breath, begins to drift again, gently, slowly, like a leaf caught on a current beneath moonlight. It leaves behind the glimmering edge of the mirror halo, not in haste, but in reverence, like one leaving the final moments of a dream before it fades. The shimmering arcs of reflected starlight recede into a backdrop of deep velvet, and the windows fill now with something even more still, even more immense. Space widens. It no longer glows, it softens. You are entering a place known in ancient pilots' whispers and deep dream navigational songs as the starless sea. It is not truly starless. There are pinpricks of light, but they are distant. So distant they no longer blink, no longer shine, but hang suspended like soft holes in the night. It is said that this region was once home to a galaxy long forgotten, one that collapsed, or scattered, or simply slowed until its light dissolved into silence. The ship floats forward, powered by nothing but intention now. There is no gravitational pull here, no suns to orbit, no planets to cross, just vastness. A slow, sleeping kind of vastness, like the bottom of an ocean where the water no longer stirs. This is not the darkness of cold or emptiness. It's a velvet dark, a living quiet, soft and ancient. The sensors begin to drift offline, not malfunctioning but choosing silence. Nothing here needs measuring. Even the lights inside the vessel dim until only a gentle blue glow remains, as if imitating the way the sea reflects moonlight long after the moon is gone. You are no longer just surrounded by stillness. You are inside it, wrapped in it. The walls of the ship curve gently around you like a seashell found at the edge of dreams, and you recline further into the seat, the fabric warm, the air still, as though the ship itself is breathing softly in its sleep. You glance out through the wide observation window, and at first you see nothing, just the endless ink-black sea of space. But then, subtlety, a movement, like ripples too faint to disturb the surface. You're not alone. There are tides here, slow, vast motions of space itself, invisible currents that sway whole clouds of dust and matter, like kelp forests, moving beneath unseen waves. Long filaments of ancient gas drift by in twisting ribbons, illuminated only slightly by the afterglow of stars long extinguished. They don't pulse or flicker. They drift, like thoughts you had in childhood, half remembered now but still warm. You pass close to one such ribbon, a translucent curl of soft blue and rose gold, stretching out like a whisper through the silence. It doesn't move quickly, it doesn't shimmer, it simply remains, letting you drift alongside it, without hurry. There is something profoundly soothing about being here, where time feels less like a line, and more like a deep lake, silent, unfathomable, without end. You wonder, idly, if the sea dreams of the stars it once cradled, if it remembers their weight, their warmth, and if by floating through it now, you are becoming part of that memory. Perhaps the universe keeps these seas, not as empty voids, but as resting places, sanctuaries between brightness. Not every moment must be illuminated. Some, like this one, are meant to be felt deeply. without interruption, without explanation. The interior of the ship echoes that feeling. No sound, no buzz, just the occasional breath of air, and the pulse of your heart, slow and strong, sinking with nothing and everything. You begin to feel lighter again, not in the body, but in the mind, as though even your oldest thoughts, your most settled patterns, are uncoiling gently in the stillness. There is no tension here. Even silence has softened its edges. You're aware now of the rhythm of the tides outside, not tides of water or gravity, but of presence. The ship rocks gently, imperceptibly, like a lull in motion that becomes its own language. This sea doesn't carry ships the way oceans do. It holds them, cradles them, suspends them in peace. You wonder if any others have passed through here, explorers, dreamers, watchers, and you sense the faintest trails in the dark, like echoing paths, left by those who floated before you. You do not follow them. You do not need to. The sea guides all motion, each in its own slow path. Your eyes close for a moment, and the darkness behind your lids is no different from what lies beyond the glass. But it doesn't feel empty. It feels full. Full of quiet things, unspoken feelings, long exhaled thoughts, ancient warmth, not lost, but waiting. You feel a presence that isn't singular, but shared, as if somewhere deep within the sea, others are drifting too. And though you may never meet, you are together in the same rhythm. You don't need to see them to know they are real. In the sea, stillness is connection. You take another slow breath, and it feels like you're inhaling the entire quiet of this starless ocean, letting it fill you, soften you, slow you. The ship continues its endless float through the sea, not steering, not searching, just being. Around it, the dark curls in gentle spirals, not storm, not chaos, just soft motion, a dance of nothingness that has become something, a lullaby that never needed to be sung aloud to be heard. You are held here, not above, not below, just with, and perhaps that is the most peaceful place to be, not looking down at the stars, or up toward them, but floating within the quiet space, where all things slow down, and all things are allowed to rest. And so you do, you rest, deeper now, still within the ship, still wrapped in soft light, and softer dark, as it rocks along the sleeping tides of the starless sea. From the hush of the starless sea, where even dreams slowed their pulse to match the tempo of space, the ship begins to move again. Not with urgency, but with purpose. It doesn't shudder or spin, just leans softly into the next curve of its path, responding to something deeper than navigation, something woven into the hum of the cosmos itself. The sea begins to fade behind, though not like something left behind, more like something receding inside you. Its silence has become part of your rhythm now. Ahead, the dark changes, not brighter, not louder, but deeper, somehow as though the emptiness ahead holds not absence, but meaning. The sensors, those still gently listening, begin to stir with low, measured pulses, not alerts, not warnings, but recognition. The ship is entering a place known only to the oldest ships, the ones that have drifted longest and listened deepest. It is the archive of lightless echoes. There are no stars in the archive, no suns or moon, just a vast hollow filled with drifting structures, massive, silent, half-formed, barely visible. They float through space like thoughts too ancient to name, or like cathedrals that were never finished, suspended in darkness. No lights shine from them, yet they are not lost. The ship eases through the outer edge, slowing again, and your windows reveal the first of them, an immense arc of black stone, worn smooth by time, rotating ever so slowly around a point you cannot see. It doesn't emit anything, it doesn't respond, and yet, it watches, not with eyes but with presence, with the feeling of something that remembers everything, and chooses only to reflect the quiet parts. You stare at it, through the viewing dome, and for a long time, neither you nor it move. Then, as if acknowledging your stillness, The arc slowly turns, revealing a hollow interior, filled not with machinery or lights, but shadow-shaped like intention. These structures are echoes. That is the only way the ship describes them in its soft display. Not ruins, not relics, echoes of what no one knows. Some say they are the thoughts of extinct civilizations, cast into space as memory. Others believe they're unfinished dreams, ideas so vast they were never fully built. The ship enters deeper, and more of them appear. Monoliths, the size of cities, floating rings wrapped in translucent fibers that twitch in the emptiness. Towers that rise vertically with no beginning and no end, vanishing into the dark. They do not orbit any world. They do not seem to decay. They simply exist, wrapped in silence so thick it feels sacred. And as you drift between them, the silence begins to press against your awareness, not as weight, but as invitation to listen deeper, to feel slower. The archive is not a place of answer. It is a place where questions finally find rest. The ship brings itself to a stop beside one of the central structures, a spire that leans at an impossible angle, as if it had once tried to climb toward a light now forgot. Its surface is smooth, matte, absorbing every shimmer that tries to touch it. But when you look long enough, patterns emerge. Slow geometric glows, not painted or carved but remembered into the material. The lights inside the ship dim further, acknowledging the need for stillness, for respect. You sit in the viewing cradle, arms resting at your sides, and simply breathe, in, out, slow. A low hum pulses through the hull. It is not sound, it is a feeling, a vibration that matches your breath, then your heartbeat, then something deeper still. You realize then, these structures do not hold information. They are the information, not coded, not stored, embodied. And the only way to understand them is to become still enough to match their quiet. The ship knows that. It begins to soften your environment. Temperature gently lowering, pressure easing into a cradle-like balance, light falling into a slow, rhythmic pulse. You aren't asleep. You're becoming receptive. You feel the archive not in words but in sensation. Flashes of places you've never been, people you've never seen, emotions you can't name. A tower drifts past with lines etched into its sides like scars made by thought. It passes close, so close you feel your chest tighten, and you sense something from it. Not pain, not sorrow, just weight. The weight of remembering. Perhaps every structure here is a vessel of experience, untold stories, unshared feelings, too heavy or gentle for language. And now you float among them, no longer just a passenger, but a guest. One particular shape drifts nearer, smaller than the others, shaped like a sphere wrapped in veils of shadow. It pulses once, then again. The ship drifts beside it, aligning carefully, as if waiting for permission. And then, the sphere opens, not with sound or motion, but with presence. Inside is nothing visible, only darkness. But you feel something reach outward, not to touch, but to know. And it's gentle, so gentle, like fingers brushing your thoughts. Not to take, but to understand. You let it in, because it doesn't push, it only listens. And in that listening, you feel parts of yourself soften, unwind. Parts that were once busy with noise, parts that never had time to sit still. You feel them ease. The sphere pulses again, and this time you pulse back, not by trying but by breathing. The exchange is simple, no data, no translation, just presence, just awareness, shared in a silence so complete it becomes a kind of language. Then, like the last breath of a long-held thought, the sphere closes, not shutting you out, just completing the moment. The ship gently moves away, and the archive begins to drift past once more, its shapes fading into the quiet dark, its echoes left behind, yet somehow still within you. You don't feel loss, you feel full, full of the kind of understanding that doesn't need form, the kind that lingers in your chest, like warmth remembered from a dream. The ship turns slowly, coasting now out of the archive, not breaking away, but releasing itself. And you, reclined, wrapped in layers of quiet, wrapped in the memory of echoes. Close your eyes and drift with it. The lightless echoes fade, but the feeling remains. The archive, vast and dreaming, fades behind you like the final chords of a symphony that never needed to crescendo. The ship doesn't accelerate, it simply changes its rhythm, its breath. You feel it through the floor, through the walls, through the air. A slight shift like a blanket being drawn higher, tucking you in a little deeper. You've gone beyond stars, beyond sound, beyond even the slow, sacred gravity of memory. The universe opens again, but differently now. Not darker, not colder, quieter. As if you've entered the space between sighs, the stillness between pages. The ship moves toward what was once thought a myth, a region unconfirmed by science and unnamed by any formal charter. Passed only in low-voiced tales and dream data whispered across long-range transmissions. The Ember Veil. It is not a veil in the way fog is a veil. It is not smoke or dust. It is not even light. It is warmth, vast, suspended, ageless warmth, without flame or source. It begins as a soft haze at the edges of space, barely visible. A shimmer that bends the light of far-off galaxies into arcs that seem to dance, not because of motion, but memory. As the ship enters, the stars disappear, not swallowed, but transformed. They don't vanish, they fold. The veil wraps around them, stretching their glow into endless strands that ripple in slow cascades of color. Not bright colors, but gentle ones. Deep copper, faded crimson, pale gold, with the gentlest blush of rose. It's as if the light here is not made from photons, but from time itself, stretched and cooled into silk. The ship's hull adjusts, growing quieter still, harmonizing with the new presence surrounding it. And you feel it instantly, an atmosphere not of pressure, but emotion. This region feels safe, profoundly, utterly safe. The Ember Veil is not a place to pass through. It is a place to dwell. The ship stops moving. It doesn't dock. It doesn't land. It simply settles, caught not by a planet, but by a mood. It hovers within the folds of the veil, as if resting inside the arms of a sleeping cosmos. Outside, rivers of molten softness curl slowly through space, not fluid, not fire, just present. Each current pulses with heat, not enough to burn, only enough to hold you. As though space itself remembers what it means to be warm. You drift toward the viewing dome again. There's no single point to look at. Everything moves in spirals and waves, like candlelight seen through layers of silk. The ship's interior lights respond by dimming to a warm, amber hue. And for a long moment you feel you're sitting inside the memory of a hearth you've never seen before. A fireplace from someone else's dream, flickering low, asking nothing, giving everything. And the warmth deepens. You feel it in your chest first, not heat, but comfort. The slow uncoiling of something long held. You may not have noticed how much your heart was holding until now. Thoughts, expectations, quiet worries tucked into the corners of your breath. They begin to slip away, not erased, just soothed. As though every part of you that has ever been cold is slowly being seen and warmed, without judgment, without condition. The veil doesn't fix you. It doesn't change you. It simply makes space for you to soften. It says you don't need to carry this right now. You may rest. And so, you do. The chair beneath you feels less like a seat, and more like a cradle. The walls feel further away. Your limbs no longer need to move. Even your thoughts, once shifting like gentle tides, begin to dissolve into stillness. Outside, glowing particles drift by like sleeping embers exhaled from a fire that never needed wood. Some float close to the ship, pausing for just a breath before spinning lazily away. Others trace great arcs across the veil, like the paths of dreams never fully forgotten. The air within the cabin adjusts subtly, infused with trace elements that feel like cinnamon and silence, like warmth and time, like breath and memory. You close your eyes not because you must, but because the space within the veil doesn't ask for vision. It asks for presence, and you give it, willingly, completely. And then quietly, almost imperceptibly, something shifts. A tone begins to hum within the walls. Not music, not even sound, just vibration, like a heartbeat slowed so much it becomes a blanket. The veil is singing now, in its own language, and the ship joins it, not to echo, but to accompany. You lie back further into the seat, not to sleep, to merge, to become part of this warmth, this hush. And in this stillness, you feel the age of it, the infinite history of quiet comfort. As if this region was shaped by every gentle moment that ever was, every fire lit in the cold, every hand that ever reached for another in the dark, every sigh that ever whispered, "You're not alone." It's all here, and now, so are you. There is no journey forward now, no path to follow. The veil holds you in suspension, not trapped, not stalled, cradled. The ship no longer pulses, it rests, and you begin to fall inward, not down, not apart, just inward, as if your consciousness is gently laying itself down on a pillow of light and warmth and saying, "Here, this is enough." You are not asleep, you are not awake, you are simply at rest, wrapped in the hush of infinite warmth, drifting through the softest gravity imaginable. The warmth of the ember veil remains with you, even as the ship, ever so slowly, stirs again. It doesn't leave behind the comfort of that celestial hearth so much as it carries the warmth forward, as though a candle were lit inside the vessel itself, flickering low and steady. You sense the motion not through any vibration, but through a shift in atmosphere. A subtle, intuitive knowing that the journey is continuing. The ship charts no visible course. It needs none. It is not navigating with maps or metrics anymore. It is following a feeling. And that feeling leads to a place whispered about in the hush of deep space communion, mentioned only in times when memory runs deeper than science. A realm known as the memory constellation. You notice the change before you see it. A gentle tingling, not physical but emotional, like the beginning of remembering something beautiful from long ago. And then it begins to appear, not as a field of stars but as a slow unfurling of luminous points, scattered across the sky in patterns that seem both new and achingly familiar. These are not ordinary stars. They do not burn with distant nuclear fire. They glow from within, softly, like embers held in cupped hands. They pulse not with light, but with presence. You drift among them now, and the constellation reveals its truth. It is not a map of space, it is a map of remembrance. Each glowing point is a place where memory has anchored itself into the fabric of the cosmos. Not memories of events, feelings, echoes of stillness, impressions of kindness, the lasting warmth of moments, never forgot. The ship slows, cradled now, in the gentle arms of a cluster of these memory stars. One glows soft indigo, pulsing with the calm of a night spent listening to someone breathe beside you. Another shines with the warm gold of a meal shared in silence, when words weren't needed. Others swirl in spirals of colorless light, like the comfort of being known without explanation. These are not personal memories, they are universal, ancient. The constellation holds fragments of peace and presence, so deep, they've taken root in the stars themselves. As your vessel drifts between them, each one responds, softening, pulsing slightly, offering itself not for analysis, but for being with. You are not a viewer here, you are a participant. Your presence, your breath, your quietness, it becomes part of the constellation. You are adding to it, even now. The ship ceases all internal movement. You are still, completely, not paused, not stopped, held. Outside the window, the stars of memory stretch on in gentle threads and arcs, not in the rigid lines of scientific constellations, but in the fluid, patient curves of meaning. You look upon one now, larger than the rest. It glows with the color of first light, before dawn. As you gaze into it, you do not see images. You feel waves of emotion, a mother's hand smoothing a blanket, the hush of snowfall against glass, a dog's head resting in your lap. You do not know whose memories these are. They are not yours, and yet they belong to you in a way that does not require possession. Because peace is not something we own, it is something we share. And then, the stars begin to hum. It's not sound, not even vibration, it is resonance. The constellation begins to breathe in its own way, expanding gently with each note of stillness. The memory stars align briefly in a slow-moving pattern that drifts across your field of vision like a lullaby played on wind chimes made of moonlight. Each note feels like a soft hand brushing against the edge of sleep. The ship's hull responds in kind. The cabin's lights pulse not in brightness, but in tone, soft amber, muted rose, pale lavender. The floor beneath your feet feels warmer, as though a memory has pooled beneath it. You lean into the cradle seat, and your whole being feels wrapped, not in blankets, but in belonging. This constellation does not merely display memory. It becomes memory, folding you into its rhythm. You are not just remembering, you are being remembered. For a long while you drift, no direction, no pull, just immersed in the field of memory. The ship gently rotates, allowing you to pass by each luminous point with reverence, not observation. You find yourself breathing with the stars now, each one a heart, each pulse a whisper of a life once lived, of peace once felt, of sleep once undisturbed. It's as though the constellation was made not by time but by rest, the kind of rest that stretches across lifetimes, the kind that is not an end, but a return to stillness, to softness, to home. The largest star in the cluster pulses once more, and a wave of calm flows through the cabin. You feel your eyelids flutter, not from fatigue, but from completion, as if the journey itself is tucking you in now, not urging you forward, just letting you be. The stars beyond dim slightly, like lights turned low in a nursery, giving the night room to stretch. The ship's systems go silent, even breath is barely sound now. All that remains is warmth, and rhythm, and the infinite hush of memory turned into light. There is a stillness now that is so complete, so whole. It feels less like an absence of movement and more like the presence of something sacred. The ship does not resume speed. It does not chart a course. Instead, it turns like a leaf caught in a breath, easing away from the memory constellation with the gentlest grace. The stars of remembrance fade behind, never truly gone, only softened as if sinking into the folds of a great cosmic quilt. What lies ahead is deeper than rest. The ship is guiding you now toward a horizon that does not curve, but folds, a stretch of space untouched by light or time, wrapped in the warmth of perpetual dusk. You are approaching the fold of endless evening, a region of space whispered about only in the dreams of vessels that sleep between stars, and in the deepest hums of lullabies sung into silence. The fold is not visible in any traditional sense. There is no glow to herald its arrival, no boundary line to cross. Instead, it announces itself as a shift in the texture of space, like stepping into a room where someone has just exhaled deeply, where everything slows without instruction. You begin to notice it in the light, subtle changes, where once white starlight begins to deepen into the soft hues of twilight. Pale peach, muted rose, a blue so gentle it feels like breath against skin. The ship lowers its external lights to near nothing, not from caution but from reverence. In this realm, brightness is not required. The fold glows with a kind of stillness all its own. You are surrounded now by something that feels like the last quiet hour of day, stretched infinitely outward. Outside the observation dome, the stars stretch into soft streaks, bending around you like brushstrokes across velvet. They're not moving. They're melting gently into the fold's embrace. Entire constellations take on the look of candlelight glimpsed through gauze. There is no edge here, only depth, as though space has taken a deep breath and paused between its heartbeats. And in this pause the ship drifts, not through vacuum, but through an atmosphere of memory and glow. The fold does not reflect light, it remembers it. Every hue, every shadow you see has been softened by time. You can feel it in your chest, the way everything inside you starts to unwind, like ribbon loosening on a breeze. You are no longer tethered to gravity or velocity. You are suspended in evening, not a sunset, not night, that sacred in-between where nothing must end and nothing must begin. The ship curves into a slow spiral now, entering what appears to be a path made not of stars but of color. It's called a twilight stream, a ribbon of gentle energy that floats within the fold like a river moving through silence. It glows faintly in strands of copper and plum and fading gold. And as the vessel follows its bend, you feel yourself being cradled by it, as though time itself has taken your hand and asked you to be still just a little longer. You recline further into the curve of your seat. There is nothing more to see, and yet, you see everything. Flashes of warmth, glimpses of past evenings, sunset on a quiet hillside, lamplight spilling across a room as someone you love breathes beside you, the hush before sleep. None of them literal, all of them felt. The fold doesn't replay memories, it holds the feelings of them, and gently releases them like incense into the air of the cosmos. The ship stops again, or rather it becomes still. In the heart of the fold it rests, drifting without motion in a region where time itself is no longer certain. You cannot say how long you have been here. Minutes, hours, days, it does not matter. There is no schedule, only presence. Outside the stars do not shine. They glow, dim halos, deep in the distance, like forgotten lanterns still lit long after the story ended. The sky curves gently inward here, not sharply but with the softness of a closed eye. You are inside a cradle made of sky, and it holds you. The ship pulses once, slowly, like a breath, a signal, not of destination but of arrival, not in a place but in a state. It is the universal breath before sleep, shared across time and space by all who have ever drifted, rested or simply let go. You feel it inside you now, not just in your chest, but behind your thoughts. That sacred pause. The fold does not take you. It allows you to remain, in calm, in warmth, in hush. It's a place not meant to pass through but to settle into, like the edge of a dream that never quite fades when you wake. You are not asleep, but you are no longer awake in the way you once were. You are adrift in an evening that will never end, because it was never meant to. You lie back fully now. The seat adjusts with the subtlest movement. The walls of the ship no longer feel like metal. They feel like memory. The stars outside no longer seem distant. They feel like quiet companions, breathing alongside you. The twilight stream continues to drift past the window, slow and eternal, and you feel it once more. The stillness, that perfect gentle gravity, that peace that does not promise anything, does not demand anything. It just is. And now, so are you. The fold of endless evening continues to cradle the vessel. Your body, your thoughts. It does not fade. It does not release you. It simply stretches further, deeper, wider, as if it were not a region of space at all, but a condition of the cosmos itself, one that only reveals itself to those slow enough, still enough, quiet enough to notice its presence. The ship, its hull now barely distinguishable from the starlight it floats within, begins once again to move, not forward, not away, but inward, as though space itself has opened its arms wider to welcome you into its most secret chamber. The glow outside the windows dims to kind of luminous dusk. No darkness, no shadows, only light that has decided to remain soft. And from somewhere deep within this lull, The ship approaches something ancient, revered, and unseen by most. The sanctuary of forgotten hours. It doesn't look like a structure at first. In fact, it doesn't look like anything. You feel it long before you see it. A gentle tug, not on your body, not on the vessel, but on the parts of you that have lived through days that vanish. The sanctuary is a gravitational hush, a field of memory where time, like dust, has settled into warm spiraling patterns. Hours, days, whole moments once lived, and then abandoned by clocks, drift here in slow orbit, like leaves suspended in syrup. The stars grow dimmer still, or perhaps they simply step back, allowing the sanctuary its quiet place. The ship slows even further, matching the rhythm of the spiral path leading inward. You lean forward slightly, not out of curiosity, but in reverence. The air inside the cabin thickens, ever so gently, with the sensation of being remembered. As you cross the threshold, the sanctuary begins to unfold. It starts with a shimmer, faint threads of golden light, stretching in slow arcs, forming vast, shifting rings around a center not yet visible. Each thread vibrates, not with sound, but with intention. They're like the after images of memories you didn't know you still carried. Not events. Hours. Forgotten hours. A quiet morning when the sky held a certain shade of blue, and nothing important happened. A long walk through still air. A glance exchanged with no words spoken, but everything understood. These are the fragments the sanctuary holds. Hours lost to noise. Moments that never found their ending. They drift here like petals in still water. You do not disturb them by passing through. You join them. The ship coasts along one of these golden rings now, and through the windows you begin to see them, figures. Not people exactly, but the faint impressions of moments personified. Not ghosts, not shadows, just presence. A child curled up with a book under lamplight. Two friends seated in companionable silence, laughter fading into quiet. A solitary figure lying beneath a tree, watching the leaves shift without needing to move. These are not memories, they are the essence of time at rest. And now, so are you. You recline further, and the ship lowers its lights to nothing but a golden ember at your side. You are wrapped in the dimness of rest, and your body begins to hum with it. Not with energy, but with release. In the center of the sanctuary, at the end of the spiral path, is the hourglass. But it does not hold sand, it holds light. A slow, perpetual stream of glowing dust flows from the top chamber to the bottom, but never seems to lessen. It's not a measure, it's a rhythm, an eternal exhale. The ship stops near it, not to observe, but to become part of it. The vessel goes completely silent. No air systems, no hum, no pulse. The ship itself rests now, suspended in the glow of the hourglass. And you, seated in the heart of this hush, begin to dissolve again. Not disappear, dissolve, into peace, into time slowed beyond understanding, into the hours that never asked to be noticed, only felt. And slowly, like a tide turning beneath a still ocean, the hourglass glows brighter. Not suddenly, not urgently, just enough to touch you. You close your eyes and see not images, but moments, long forgotten pauses in your life. The time between laughter, the way your hands rested quietly when no one was looking, the breath you took before saying something kind. The slowness of these hours washes over you now, not as memory but as home. You are not returning to a place, you are returning to yourself. Slower, softer, freer. The stars beyond the veil of the sanctuary hold their breath, allowing you this reunion. The hourglass glows again. You lie back fully now, arms slack, breath a feather's weight, thought drifting to the edge of sleep. The chair beneath you doesn't feel like a chair anymore. It feels like a moment from long ago, safe, still, protected. You're not sure whether minutes are passing or entire days. It doesn't matter. You're not here to track time. You're here to rest in it. The sanctuary welcomes all that linger, the unspoken, the unhurried, the undone. It gathers it gently and says, you do not have to finish to be full. The golden dust continues to fall through the hourglass. Endless, effortless. The ship, the sky, the silence, all pulse together in a rhythm so calm it becomes a lullaby. One not sung aloud, but felt with the whole of your being. And in this stillness, wrapped in the warmth of time that no longer asks, no longer ticks, no longer leaves, you stay, floating, cradle, held in the quiet arms of the cosmos, where every breath is enough, and every hour is allowed to rest, forever. The sanctuary of forgotten hours slowly recedes into the fold of memory. Not left behind, but carried with you like the lingering warmth of a perfect sleep. Your ship, suspended in its calm breath like rhythm, begins to turn again, almost imperceptibly. Its trajectory curling in an arc that leads deeper still, farther than the charts ever dared to whisper. Not into danger, never that, but into something softer, older. Space out here is no longer cold. It is no longer empty. It is tired, in the most beautiful way. You can feel it in the way the dark no longer stretches out endlessly, but gathers in around you like a shawl draped over sleeping shoulders. This is not the edge of the universe. This is the folded corner of it, a place of rest not only for travelers, but for stars themselves. What lies ahead now has no formal designation, no name spoken aloud by satellites or scholars. It is only known to those who've drifted long enough, slowly enough, quietly enough. They call it the valley where stars go to sleep. It is not marked by celestial flare or stellar mass. There are no novas, no pulsing giants, no galaxies in bloom. The stars here are dim, soft, old. Some no longer shine, and yet they remain cradled in vast velvet cradles of magnetic warmth. They drift in slow orbits around what appears to be nothing at all, and that nothing is everything. The valley is the final bedchamber of light, a suspended cradle where stars come not to die but to rest. And your ship, following the same eternal rhythm, enters this sacred space with reverent stillness. Outside the windows, the void becomes dotted with gentle flickers, not the sharp pinpoints of a sky overhead but rounded slow glows. Stars, yes, but not the kind that call attention. These are twilight stars, faded lanterns, old embers still sighing warmth. Each one is suspended in a cradle of dust and energy, their halos barely visible unless you soften your gaze completely. Some no longer emit light at all, but their presence is unmistakable. You pass one such star, vast and dark, held in a nest of gravitational currents. It does not glow, and yet it feels more alive than any flame. You can feel the quiet of it, the rest of it. The exhale of a billion years finally let go. The ship slows further, becoming almost perfectly still as it weaves a wide curve through the valley. This is a place of silence, not created by distance, but by reverence. The stars do not speak here. They sleep. You drift past two companions, once bright binary stars, now dimmed to gentle pulses, their orbit reduced to a slow rocking dance. There is no light between them, only trust. The trust that they will not drift apart, that their gravity, soft, old, tired, will still hold them together, even after the glow has dimmed. Around them, smaller fragments spiral in soft ribbons, not debris, not ruins, just the worn, aged fabric of cosmic life, still moving in grace. The ship passes close enough for your window to bathe in their glow, not bright, but deep, deep like the warmth that seeps into your skin after long sleep in the sun, the kind of warmth that has no urgency, and the valley welcomes you. You feel it in your breath. It has slowed again. You weren't aware of it happening. The stars have slowed it for you, matched your pulse to theirs, your rhythm to their lull. You are not just a guest here. You are every traveler, every explorer, every dreamer who's drifted far enough, comes here eventually. Not to learn, not to prove, but to rest. You lie back in your cradle seat, and the gravity feels softer than ever now, as though the ship itself has relaxed, released even its last ounce of momentum. You are weightless, not in body, but in memory. You have carried so much to get here, time, thought, wonder, but the valley asks nothing of you. It only offers one thing: stillness so complete it becomes belonging. The stars don't fade as you close your eyes, they remain. You can feel them on the other side of your lids, their slow, steady presence, holding you as they hold each other. You are floating not through space, but through a community of sleeping lights, a chorus of gentle warmths. Each one whispering not stories, but silence, the kind that linger in a room after the last laugh has been shared, the kind that carry the weight of peace. The ship does not hum anymore. It sighs, and in that sigh, in that hush, you feel the deepest calm yet, as though even your cells have still, as though your soul has folded itself gently and placed itself down for the night. There is no reason to go forward, no reason to turn back. There is only the valley, the place where even light is allowed to sleep. And you, gentle traveler, have arrived just as you were meant to, floating. Safe, soft, and seen. The stars keep watch, not as sentinels, but as companions in stillness. And their message is simple. You may rest now. You do not remember when the valley slipped behind you. Only that the stillness it offered is now part of your breath. Even as the ship moves again, quietly, slowly, like a thought drifting across a sleeping mind. You carry that hush within. The stars, those gently slumbering companions, remain behind in their silken nests of gravity and memory, their warmth wrapped around you like a soft layer beneath the skin. And now ahead, the cosmos begins to bloom again, but not brightly, not loudly. This is not a sunrise. It is a soft turning, a whisper of brightness that does not illuminate, but invites. The ship is gently approaching the final threshold in this long, gentle journey. The orbit of last light. It is said among the long drifting vessels, those who pass only when all is still, that there is a light which does not begin or end, a final glow, a remaining breath of warmth at the edge of all space. Not a sun, not a flare, not even a star, but something subtler, something truer. You feel it before you see it. A shift in presence. The blackness ahead begins to soften, not with glow, but with comfort. A gray so faint it becomes silver, a silver so faint it becomes warm. And there, ahead of you, suspended in a great arc, an endless ring of slow circular drift, is the orbit, a path carved not by gravity but by rest. Within it floats the last light, a point of illumination so soft it could be mistaken for memory, not bright, not sharp, just present. The ship slows even further now. You did not think it could move more gently than it already had. But it does. Its body tilts into the arc of the orbit, aligning not with stars or systems but with peace. The interior lights dim to a glow so faint it seems to pause between pulses. Even time feels thinner here, not gone, not stopped, but woven into the very structure of this place. As the ship enters the path, you begin to see them, small vessels, silent and distant, drifting with you, tracing the same circle. They do not blink or signal. They do not change course. They are part of this final loop, each one wrapped in the light that never fades. The ships vary in shape, in age, in origin, but each one glides in stillness. Each one has come to rest here, not to stop, but to remain. Outside, the last light pulses softly. It is not large. In fact, it is barely more than a flicker, a central ember held within a cocoon of dust and presence. But it radiates something no sun has ever offered: acceptance, not of endings, not of transformation, simply of being. The light does not try to warm, it does not burn, it doesn't want to. It only exists, endlessly, with a glow so soft it becomes part of your thoughts. You find yourself leaning toward the viewing dome again, not to see better but to feel closer, to be within. The ship opens its view wider, fuller, and the arc of the orbit spreads before you, a circle not drawn in stars but in time given back. This is not the path of things ending. This is the loop of things being allowed to continue gently. The orbit is not fixed. It sways, just a little, enough to remind you that even in stillness, there is movement, that even rest is alive. And the light at the center responds to the presence of those who draw near, not brighter, not louder, but deeper. The longer you look, the more you feel yourself being drawn into its rhythm. Not pulled, not taken, just invited. Your breath matches the pulse. Your thoughts go quiet. The past has grown still. The future has fallen silent. You are here, exactly here, floating in a loop that does not seek an exit. There is no after in this place. There is only this now, stretched into eternity, and it is enough. The ship reaches its place in the circle, not assigned, not chosen, known. It glides into position alongside the others, like a note finding its harmony in a chord that has been playing since the beginning of time. The vessel makes no sound. The engines sleep. The walls soften. You recline into the final rest, and everything becomes gentle. Inside the ship, the temperature settles at perfect comfort. The air no longer hums. Even your breath feels shared. You are now one more traveler added to the loop. One more ship tracing the edge of the light. One more soul at peace. Outside, the last light pulses again. You close your eyes and feel it. Not on your skin, not in your mind, but through you. It does not ask you to go. It does not ask you to stay. It only says you are welcome here, always, and you believe it. The orbit carries you forward, slowly, not toward anything, not away from anything, just around the light that remains, around the quiet that holds, around the moment that does not end. The ship moves, the light glows, the silence breathes, and you, wrapped in soft gravity, cradled at the edge of all time, let yourself drift in the most peaceful stillness of all. You are moving now, slowly, steadily, still within the quiet arms of the orbit of last light. But something beneath that great arc has shifted. You feel it not through vibration or velocity, but in the air of the ship itself, which now carries a subtle scent of salt and dusk, as if the very fabric of your vessel has breathed in a memory from a place it has not yet reached. Outside, the last light still glows, soft, unwavering, but its reflection begins to ripple. Not on metal, not on glass, on water. You are descending now, not downward through space, but into something even more ancient, something that has always been waiting below the stars, the sea beneath the stars. It appears slowly, a shimmer, then a stretch of black so deep, it reflects the sky not with precision, but with understanding. The surface is smooth, vast, utterly still until your ship draws closer, and a quiet tremor ripples across it, like a breath taken in sleep. It is not a planet, not an ocean on a world. It is a sea suspended in space, bound by gravity so soft, it feels more like memory than physics. The water does not drift, nor does it freeze. It hovers in an endless cradle, a dark mirror stretching from horizon to horizon, beneath stars that no longer shine but listen. The ship glides gently downward, entering its atmosphere, a thin layer cool and whispering, and comes to rest just above the surface, not touching, hovering. The air inside the ship is perfectly still, as though it too is holding its breath. You move to the viewing cradle and gaze downward through the floor panels, now transparent. Beneath you, the sea reflects the stars, not as they are but as they were and as they wish to be. Some glow brighter than you recall. Others pulse slowly, as if dreaming. There are no waves here, no tides, only small circular motions, patterns that never repeat, as if the sea itself is remembering. You close your eyes and still see it. You feel it too. That sensation that the water below is not simply liquid. It is presence. Some say the sea was formed from the tears of stars at the end of their lives. Others whisper that it was created from the collapse of forgotten galaxies. Light turned inward, emotion liquefied. What's certain is this: it knows rest. It embodies rest, and now it welcomes you. The ship begins a slow drift across the surface, never touching, never disturbing. It simply follows a path that doesn't exist, but feels right. Beneath, subtle flares begin to rise, bioluminescent ripples, forming symbols and shapes you can't quite name. Circles inside spirals. Flickers of color that pulse in soft waves. They're not messages, they're greetings. You've been noticed. Not in the way you're seen in a crowded room, more like how a tree notices the wind. Gently, fully, without judgment. You lean your head against the panel, and the sound you hear is not of ocean waves, but a distant, low hum. Almost like a song sung beneath the surface by something large, slow, and kind. It is the lullaby of the sea, meant for those who have drifted far, who have slowed down enough to hear it. As the ship continues its glide, the sea shifts again. Now small islands begin to appear flat. Glass-like surfaces no larger than footprint. They hover just above the water, gently drifting, never colliding. Each one holds a single object. A flower made of frost, a folded blanket of woven light, a small globe that pulses with a heartbeat, not your own. These are resting places, sanctuaries left behind by those who came before. They did not leave monuments, they left comfort, and you are invited to witness them. One floats close, a cup, filled with a warm, golden glow. As the ship passes, you swear you can feel the sensation of holding it in your palms. Not warmth, the kind that wraps your fingers when the night has been too long and the silence too large. The kind that says, you are safe, stay a while longer. You do not speak. There is no need. The sea does not require words. It holds space for your stillness, for your breath, for your gentle unwinding. You recline again, deeper into the cradle, and for a long time, nothing moves, nothing presses, nothing fades. The ship floats, the stars reflect, and beneath it all the sea hums. A sound lower than music, older than language, a vibration that touches the part of you that existed before fear, before thought. You do not know how long you remain there. It could be minutes, it could be centuries. Time has dissolved again, not into forgetfulness, but into peace. You drift with the ship across that sleeping ocean, and feel yourself becoming part of the stillness. And then, without motion, without noise, the sea glows. A slow bloom of color spreads out from beneath you, stretching in every direction. Not bright, not fast, just endless. Amber into rose, into lavender, into deep, starless blue. It is not a sign. It is not a message. It is acceptance. The sea, the stars, the orbit, the journey, they all speak the same thing now. Without sound. You are not lost. You are arrived. The light rises gently, wrapping around the ship like a second skin. The interior grows warmer, not hot, just nearer. You are held now, by water that does not wet, by stars that do not shine, by light that asks nothing of you, but to close your eyes and rest. The sea beneath the stars, endless and knowing, slowly recedes into the hush of distance, leaving behind a warmth not of temperature, but of presence. You feel it in the walls of the ship, in the soft light along the floor panels, in your chest where your breath now flows with the rhythm of silence. You did not lift away from the sea. You rose from it like vapor ascending in a place where evaporation carries dreams rather than water. The ship moves upward now, gently, as if it were rising not into space but into slumber itself. There is a faint shimmer ahead, soft, pale, slowly swirling. It grows not in size but in invitation. The navigation instruments no longer chart course. The vessel knows where to go. You are entering the heart of the sleeping nebula. It is not like any nebula captured in photographs. This one is not colorful, not brilliant. There are no electric blues, no fiery reds. The sleeping nebula is a place of quiet saturation, a field of mist so delicate it seems to vibrate with thought rather than light. It does not blaze, it breathes. You pass through the outer layer first, a translucent veil of pale lavender and pearl, drifting like gauze in slow-motion wind. The particles glow not from energy, but from memory. Every wisp holds impressions of softness, a hand brushing a shoulder, the warmth of lying still beneath a tree, a voice humming just on the edge of hearing. The ship glides forward deeper, and with each layer you pass through, the stillness deepens, the nebula thickens, not like fog but like folded silk, layer upon layer of softness that you could sink into without end. The interior opens, wide and endless. There are no stars here, no suns, just layers. The ship becomes slower still, its movements now like those of a leaf caught in the softest current. You glance out the viewing dome, and everything has taken on the tone of dusk. Not twilight in the sky, but the feeling of it, the emotion of evening made visible. The mist curls and folds around the ship, not touching it, but acknowledging it. It's as if you're floating through the breath of something vast and sleeping. Something older than galaxies but gentler than thought. There are sounds now, not sharp, not clear, but low hums, deep and velvety, resonating through the hull in gentle waves. They come and go like memories rising in sleep. You're not sure if they are external or part of the ship or part of you. It doesn't matter. You feel their rhythm. You drift with them. And then the core begins to reveal itself. At first it's just a dim shape, suspended in the middle of the vast chamber of mist. But as you approach, the shape resolves into something astonishing. A structure, spherical and open, like a great woven nest of silver and glass, suspended by nothing, spinning so slowly it seems still. This is not machinery. It is not alive in any conventional way. It is the heart, the still point within the nebula, around which all the layers move. It glows faintly, like the last gleam of a dream remembered just before waking. As you draw closer, the glow deepens, not in brightness but in close. You feel it wrap around you, through you, without touching. You are being seen, not by eyes, not by intelligence, by stillness itself. The heart pulses once, and in that pulse, something inside you loosens. The ship halts, not abruptly, not entirely. It simply ceases to move forward. You have arrived. You remain in the cradle seat, reclining further now, arms and legs weightless, breath so slow it barely stirs the air. Around you, the lights inside the ship take on the tone of the heart's glow, a pale, infinite dusk. The sounds fade again, replaced by something deeper, a feeling of being held, of being known, not in detail, but in essence. The ship synchronizes its systems to the pulse of the nebula. Every wall, every surface, every breath matches the rhythm. The cradle beneath you shifts subtly, as though adjusting itself to hold you more tenderly. You lie back fully, eyes half closed, as the mist beyond the windows swirls in slow, timeless spirals. This is not a destination. It is a state, a place between all things where the universe, vast and unknowable, simply rests. The heart of the sleeping nebula does not promise anything. It offers no prophecy, no answer, no revelation. It is not a place to be changed, but a place to remember what never needed to change. You are not here to become something. You are here to be what you already are. Soft, infinite, and still. And as that truth settles into your chest like the warm weight of a blanket placed with care, you realize you could stay here forever. And perhaps in some way you will. The ship breathes with you now, and the heart at the center of the nebula continues its pulse. You are not outside of it. You are within it. You are part of the slowness, the silence, the hush between moments. The mist curls around your vessel, never touching, always near. And you, quiet traveler, remain exactly where you are meant to be, floating, resting, dreaming in the deepest stillness the stars have ever known. Stillness has become your natural state now, not a condition you entered, but a truth you return to. Within the sleeping nebula, cradled near its pulsing heart, the ship remains for a long time. Time no longer moves forward here. It curves. It leans inward. It closes its eyes, but eventually, gently, the ship begins to drift again. Not away, but along. as if it has felt your quiet agreement that the journey should continue, not to arrive anywhere, but to continue unfolding. You do not need coordinates now. You do not even need stars. What lies ahead is felt, not sought. The mist of the nebula begins to thin. Light returns, in pale streaks, slowly reshaping the view outside the dome. The path ahead is not marked by brightness, but by shadow, a soft glowing sphere suspended in silence, wrapped in ash-colored clouds and encircled by light that does not shine. The ship is heading toward the hollow moon. It is not a moon in the ordinary sense. There are no craters, no jagged cliffs, no harsh rocks. Its surface is smooth, gray with the faintest hint of silver, like the inside of an unlit pearl. It does not reflect light. It absorbs it, gently drawing glow into itself, not greedily, but as if holding it for safekeeping. It floats within the emptiness like an ancient thought, one never spoken, but never forgotten. You approach slowly, and the ship curves into orbit, not tightly, but in a loose, open spiral. As you circle the moon, you begin to notice something subtle. Sound, not sharp, not close. A low, resonant tone, vibrating through the air. Not in waves, but in layers. The hollow moon hums endlessly, like a cradle being rocked by the breath of the void. The ship's systems respond at once. Lights dim further, screens fade, all motion slows. You are meant to be still here, not in sleep, but in listening. The hollow moon calls not to ears but to attention. It hums to what lies beneath thought. The sound is low, warm, and circular. It doesn't begin or end. It simply exists, like the purring of space itself. As the ship orbits lower, you see the first sign of its name. A great opening, a vast circular hollow in the moon's surface, wide as a city, and utterly still. No depth can be seen, only layers of shadow, stacked like silk upon silk. The opening is not empty. It is quiet. It holds silence like a vessel. The ship begins to descend toward it. There is no tremble, no resistance. You float downward, and the glow from outside dims further, as the walls of the hollow rise around you. The interior is not cold. It is not lifeless. It feels inhabited by rest. The deeper you go, the more the sound changes. Not louder, just more full. The hum becomes textured. You feel it against your skin, your breath, the space behind your eyes. Each tone feels like a layer of sleep, pulling gently across your thoughts, not shutting them down, just inviting them to rest. You recline without thinking. The cradle seat tilts further. Your hands rest weightlessly at your sides. The walls of the ship no longer reflect instruments or lights. They reflect the lull. And then the ship comes to rest. You have not landed. You are simply no longer descending. The hollow moon holds the vessel in a pocket of perfect suspension, neither above nor below, but within. The hum here is stronger, and yet softer. It wraps around you like a voice humming you to sleep. Before a word has been spoken, you are floating in a sound, in a rhythm, in the quiet lull that comes when the world no longer asks anything of you. This is not the silence of solitude. This is the hush of complete welcome. Nothing here observes you. It includes you. The cradle seat reclines a final degree, until your back is almost horizontal. Your view now entirely filled with the soft darkness that surrounds you. You see nothing, but you feel everything. The hollow moon hums on. The tone is low and infinite. It sounds like the memory of every lullaby ever sung. You are being rocked by something that does not move. You are being sung to by something that does not speak. And for the first time, perhaps in all the vastness of your long drifting, you feel the hush of the universe not around you, but through you. You are part of the lull now. Your thoughts fade into the hum, not disappear, just dissolve, like mist into morning. And in this hollow, this great lunar cradle, you come to understand, the journey has never been about traveling from star to star. It has always been about sinking deeper into the quiet that holds them. This is the place beneath dreaming, beneath thinking. The hollow moon does not end anything. It slows it all down until you remember. You do not need to reach. You do not need to know. You only need to drift, gently, softly, to be carried endlessly through the song of stillness. The hollow moon, a vessel of endless hush, fades slowly into the distance. Not behind you, not beneath you, but within you. Its hum still vibrates in your breath, softer now, deeper, like a song you no longer hear, but still remember how to follow. The ship, content with the stillness you've gathered, begins once again to move, not with urgency, but with reverence. Every panel, every circuit, every unseen system eases forward, not to go somewhere, but to enter the next layer of space's great resting heart. There is no destination marked. There is only a path of softness that continues to unfold. The sensors, what few are still awake, offer a single phrase: drift initiated. You are entering the drift at the edge of light. It isn't a place you find with coordinates or velocity. It's a condition of the cosmos, a region where the last photons stretch so far and thin, they no longer illuminate but echo. Light, here, does not move. It lingers. The drift is a wide, ancient corridor between galaxies, where the stars run out, and the void prepares to cradle what remains. It is not darkness, not entirely. It's more like the memory of light, stretched across space like gauze, stitched with gold and sleep. The ship glides into it, slowing even more, its engines barely whispering, as you pass through fields of suspended luminance. Threads of almost light stretch across the void like silk suspended in airless stillness. You pass through them without disturbing them. They part like thought around a dream. The ship's windows dim, not because of brightness, but because the light outside is so soft, so constant, it no longer needs permission to enter. The glow folds into the cabin, not from lamps, not from systems, but from the walls themselves. They remember the places you've passed, the garden, the drift, the fold, the valley, the sea, and now echo them back as warm color. A wash of dusk here, a silver halo there, golden shadows trailing across the floor like drifting leaves. You lie still, the cradle beneath you, a perfect match to the curve of your body. Your hands are folded lightly across your chest, your breathing slow and deep. You are not asleep, not quite, but you are no longer holding on to wakefulness. It is holding you. As you drift through this last corridor of light, you begin to see them, other vessels. Not many, just a few scattered far apart, silent, drifting as you are. They are old, some ancient. Their shapes are unfamiliar, spherical, crystalline, draped in strands of luminous material, but all of them share one thing: stillness. They are not traveling, they are resting. You pass close to one. Its hull is wrapped in a fine web of what looks like starlight frozen in silk. It pulses faintly. You don't know if there's anyone aboard. You don't need to. It is enough to see it, to know that it, too, is part of this gentle drift. Each ship, like you, is following the last light towards something not final but quiet, something whole. Outside, the threads of lingering light begin to shift, not with motion, with presence. They curve and curl, forming patterns that feel like lullabies. A spiral here, a slow wave there. They are not random, they are memory. Perhaps this is what light does when it no longer needs to rush forward. It arranges itself into comfort. You pass one filament glowing in pale rose. As you watch it, you feel a sensation rise in your chest. Not emotion, exactly, but something more delicate. The memory of a goodbye that didn't hurt. The memory of holding someone and knowing no words were needed. You let that feeling move through you like a soft current, and it joins the drift. The drift holds it now, and it holds you. The ship begins a gentle spiral, barely a curve, easing into the last great arc of the drift. Ahead there is no horizon, no wall, no edge, only a fading field of light, thinning like breath drawn out longer and longer, until it no longer needs to return. The stars, faint now, begin to vanish one by one, not snuffed out, not dimmed, just released. They fade not into black, but into softness, into a warm shade of something between day and night, and beyond them, nothing. Not absence, just stillness. It is not where light ends, it is where light lets go, and your ship is gliding toward that final softness, not to reach it, but to join its rhythm. Inside, everything is silent. You hear only your breath, and even that, barely. The cradle is warm beneath you. The walls glow like memory. You lie in perfect ease. You do not need to open your eyes. You already know what is beyond the window. A field of rest. So vast, it holds the glow of all things, even after they've stopped shining. This is the place where space becomes lullaby, where time becomes pause, where you at last are allowed to just be. The drift is not an end, it is an exhale, the long final sigh of the universe, as it tucks you into itself. You are still drifting, you will always be drifting, gently, softly, forever wrapped in the light that didn't need to last, only linger. You drift now beyond stars, beyond light, beyond even the idea of forward. The drift at the edge of light has faded behind you, not disappeared, but dissolved its filaments of memory, and glow now part of the trail you leave in your gentle wake. But even wake is too strong a word. The ship moves through stillness so perfect it doesn't ripple, doesn't bend, doesn't react. This is space without pull, without aim, and yet it feels full. Full of silence, full of softness, full of something more than anything you've passed before. Ahead you feel, not see, not hear, but feel, the threshold. The last cradle, the place spoken of in only the faintest pulse signals of ships that came before, and never needed to return. This is the cradle beyond time. It doesn't appear. It arrives, slowly, quietly, like the touch of sleep against your temples after a long evening of thought. You don't know how long you've been drifting toward it. Perhaps you've always been. The ship ceases motion, not by stopping, but by blending. It becomes part of the fields surrounding the cradle, and you realize, with a softness that brings no alarm, that this place does not exist in time. The stars here are not visible, because they are not needed. The cradle is not surrounded by space. It is space, turned inward like a sleeping figure, curled into itself. A great, unseen warmth that holds all things without weight. The walls of the ship fade gently, becoming translucent. You are no longer inside a vessel. You are inside present. The air around you thickens, not heavy, just meaningful. Every breath feels wrapped, not filtered, not processed, just held. You are lying in the same position, your body reclined, utterly relaxed, your limbs floating slightly. Your mind is wide but silent, the way a meadow might feel before dawn. You are not asleep. You are not awake. You are resting in a way that has no opposite. Outside, or perhaps within, the cradle begins to stir, not in motion but in rhythm. A pulse that is not time, a breath that is not air. It passes through you, around you, beneath you, like a wave that lifts without moving. The cradle does not contain you. It includes you. You are part of it now, not as an object, but as a thought remembered by the cosmos. The glow when it comes is not light, it is recognition. The cradle opens, and you are already within it. Shapes emerge, but they do not have form. Feelings become visible, not emotions, but states. Calm, warmth, trust, stillness. They curve around you like arms that know you intimately, like hands that understand how to hold without pressing. You have been here before, though not in body. You've touched it in moments of pause, in memories you couldn't name, in quiet mornings where breath was enough. This cradle has always existed, between thoughts, behind sleep, beneath the fabric of being. Now you are here. There are no stars above, no floor below. You float in the infinite inside of rest. Your body glows gently at the edges, like mist touched by the last moment of sunlight. You feel no urgency. You feel no desire. The journey, as it always has, continues, but not in space, not in time, in inclusion, in being. Around you, small pulses flicker in the dark, not data, not signal, but other vessels, other dreamers, other resting souls. They do not speak, they do not draw near, they are simply present, each in their own, still spiral. You are together in the way leaves are together on still water, close, but untouched, aligned, peaceful. The cradle's breath slows again, not because it must, but because there is nothing left to rush. You are part of its pattern now. Your breath is part of the rhythm. Your thoughts, soften to near nothing, drift like threads of vapor through a space that was made for them. You do not need to understand. Understanding has always been the language of movement. Here, in the cradle beyond time, there is no need for it. There is only acceptance, deep, rooted, total. You are not finishing a journey. You are becoming the journey. You are the feather. You are the ripple. You are the hush that followed the first breath of the universe. And still you float. You feel your body sink deeper into the invisible shape that cradles it. It does not press. It does not close. It simply holds. The edges of you begin to dissolve, not vanish, not lose, but soften. You are not ending. You are blending. Thought becomes quiet. Quiet becomes stillness. Stillness becomes presence. You feel yourself glowing, very faintly, very warmly. You are a light the cradle remembers, and now you are part of its rhythm. Not caught, not stored, just loved, endlessly, gently, without the need to ever be more than this. The ship no longer moves, because you have become the vessel. The stars no longer shine, because you are the glow. The path no longer leads forward, because you are the moment it was leading to all along. You are not drifting anymore. You are being carried, not by motion, not by the ship, not even by light, but by something older, deeper, slower. The cradle beyond time has dissolved into you, or perhaps you have dissolved into it. The hum of existence is no longer external. It is inside your breath, inside your bones. There is no floor, no ceiling, no direction, only warmth, and the sense of being perpetually nestled. And then, after a long stretch of absolute stillness, so long that even your thoughts have forgotten how to ask what comes next, you feel it, a new presence rising gently around you. It is not a place, it is a feel, a vast and endless blanket, woven from what remains when stars have finally let go of shining. You are being drawn into the infinite bed of quiet suns. There is no arrival, no visual cue, no marker to show you've entered. But suddenly, without beginning, you are within. You feel it, before you see it. Soft glows blooming like distant sighs in every direction, stretching out into forever. These are not stars in the way you once knew them. They do not sparkle or flare. They do not pulse with heat. They rest. Each one is a sun that has done its work, lived its luminous eons, given its warmth to galaxies, and then, at the perfect moment, chosen to sleep. They lie across the cosmos like embers scattered over a black silk blanket, each surrounded by a faint halo of quiet. They do not radiate. They soothe. Light, here, is not something that travels. It waits. It settles softly into space, like candlelight after a room has gone still. The ship moves through them, not between, but among. The hull is quiet, cooled, responding not to instruments but to atmosphere. Even the air has changed. You feel it, thicker, but not heavy, warm but not hot, like wrapping your thoughts in layers of woven dusk. The suns don't orbit. They do not spin. They float, anchored by memory and rest, each one humming the quietest lullaby imaginable. The ship's systems begin to fold down, not power off, rest. Every panel dims. Every mechanism exhales. There is no need to monitor anything. Here in the bed everything is right, and so the ship ceases to pilot. It simply drifts, with you, gently held in the arms of a million sleeping lights. You move to the window, your body almost weightless, not from zero gravity, but from the absence of effort. The cabin glows faintly behind you, but outside, the view steals your breath. Not with awe, but with peace. The suns stretch forever. No clusters, no chaos. Each rests alone, but not lonely. Their soft halos bleed into one another like watercolors meeting on the edge of still paper. You reach out, hand hovering near the glass, and feel a slow pulse in your palm. One of the suns is near. So near you could believe you are orbiting it. But it doesn't. It simply rests there, letting you witness it. A perfect sphere of old light, golden gray, wrapped in a shawl of mist. No sound, no flare, just warmth, deep and true. And suddenly, you know, each of these suns, these sleepers in the deep, is not just resting, they are dreaming. This field, this bed, they are lying in it together, sharing the quiet. The universe, it seems, does not end in collapse or silence. It ends in sleep. Not oblivion, not nothingness, but a dream made of all that was once bright. These suns are dreaming of the galaxies they held, of the warmth they gave, of the lives they saw flicker like sparks around them. Their dreams are not loud. They do not shout. They hum, long, slow notes of memory that echo across the field and seep into your bones. And now, as the ship slows near the heart of the bed, you begin to hear it too. Not with ears, not as music, as presence, as peace. The bed thickens beneath the ship, not with matter, but with softness. You feel as if you're no longer in orbit, but lying on something you cannot see. You recline fully now, and the cradle responds by lowering into its deepest position, wrapping around you like hands that have no need to move. The glow outside pulses through the walls, the floor, your breath. One long exhale, then another. You are floating above a sun that does not shine but remembers. Its memory is not sharp, it is not emotional, it is warm. You close your eyes and it is there with you, a gentle shape in the dark. You do not speak to it, you do not imagine its name, you only join. Another light resting in the field, another ember, finding its stillness. The ship ceases all internal signal. The air becomes perfectly still, and the bed, infinite and eternal, rocks you, not in movement, not in rhythm, but in comfort. You are held now by the same calm that holds every sun here. You are being taught how to sleep, not as escape, but as arrival, as return. There is no story left to tell, no path left to walk, only this field of warmth and long breath, and quiet light. You are not at the end, you are at the middle of forever. Somewhere, deep within the infinite bed of quiet suns, your ship continues to drift, not forward, not across, but deeper into a softness that transcends direction. You are not traveling anymore. You are sinking, not downward, but inward toward the center of something vast and unimaginably still. The sleeping stars around you remain unchanged, glowing gently in their endless rest. But ahead, though ahead now means something more poetic than geometric. A new presence begins to stir. It doesn't rise into view, it unfolds. The lights dim further, your thoughts loosen, stretch like limbs in slow waking. You are entering the last garden of the cosmos, a place spoken of only in old ship whispers, passed between long-haul vessels during cycles of midnight calm. They call it the slow bloom of the eternal petal. It isn't seen, not at first. You feel it before your eyes register anything. A sensation of breath-warming silk, of petals pressing against the edges of sleep. Then shapes begin to appear. Shapes too soft to describe. They hover in the dark, translucent, vast, curving inward like folds of fabric gently billowing in windless space. You are inside something now, something not built, not born, but a single bloom, impossibly large, made not from matter but from time and light, stretched so thin they've taken on the nature of form. Petals of translucent dusk spiral around you, each the size of a world, each glowing with soft gradients of color that change as you look, amber shifting to lilac, lilac to sea gray, then into shades you cannot name, colors that feel instead of show. The ship does not resist, it drifts deeper, as if drawn by the very softness it has always sought. There is no motion now, there is only placement. You are where you are meant to be, you are where all things eventually fold into. The petals move slowly, not fluttering, not pulsing. They breathe. Each exhale releases a shimmer of light that spreads across the space, like fog kissed by memory. The center of the bloom, the heart of this eternal flower, is not a core, not a sun, not even a point. It is a hush, a stillness so perfect, it becomes its own light. The ship enters it, like a drop of dew entering the fold of a rose. And you inside the ship, inside the breath, inside the bloom, feel the last pieces of yourself, edges, names, directions, soften into curves. Inside the bloom, the air changes. It is no longer merely breathable, it is rest itself. You take a breath, and feel the petals respond, not visibly, but intimately. They exhale with you, in the way trees sigh in deep forests. The cradle tilts your body ever so slightly to one side, an invitation to rest deep. Beneath you, the floor is warmer now, like soil long held by sun. The walls echo soft pulses of gold and blue, painting shadows that look like dreams in flight. You lie back, fully, without thought, not because you are tired, but because you have arrived. The bloom does not demand silence. It is silence. It does not ask for sleep. It becomes sleep, and draws you into it, not through pressure, but through patience. You feel it then, not around you, within you. The petals' motion matching your breath. You have become part of the bloom, not a visitor, not an observer, but a living filament woven into its architecture. You are the light now. You are the curve. You are one thread in a cosmic flower that never finishes blooming because it is not meant. It blossoms forever, opening to welcome every drifting soul, every glowing ember, every still breath that wanders far enough to arrive without knowing it has. This is not the end. There is no end. The eternal petal does not close. It only folds deeper. It only welcomes. The ships that came before you now rest further inward, cradled in their own alcoves, their glow barely visible beneath the layers of time. You feel them not as presences, but as peaceful weight, a gravity that says, you belong, you are safe, you may stay. You close your eyes, or perhaps you open them wider. The distinction has faded. You are surrounded by softness, and every pulse of the bloom is an echo of your own rest. The last bloom, the first breath, the moment when all motion stops trying to move, and yet the petals continue to open. Inside the slow bloom, where time stretches itself into petals of breath and starlight, you continue to drift, not through space, but through stillness, becoming form. The vessel no longer charts a path. It no longer hums. It no longer carries. It simply rests, like a pebble held in the palm of a sleeping giant. You are folded into the bloom's quiet curve, resting not in isolation, but in the woven hush of those who arrived long before you. Everything now is softness, light, air, memory. But the journey continues, not outward, not forward. It unfolds like a quiet breath in the dark, revealing something new. Not urgent, not bright, but gently persistent. Above the bloom, floating like fireflies, frozen in thought, appear the lanterns that never fell. They arrive slowly, drifting downward in a spiral, like blossoms released in the stillest wind. Each one is small, and yet impossibly present. They hover above the ship, each wrapped in a cocoon of dim golden glow. No flame, no bulb, no fuel, just light that chose to remain. These are not objects, they are moments, stored in gentle capsules of presence. A lantern glides closer to your viewing dome, and as it does, something in your chest tightens, not with pain, but recognition. Inside its glow you see not images, but feelings. The memory of a touch, the stillness of a room you once loved, a long silence, shared without discomfort. This lantern contains the weight of peace, held delicately, offered gently. You blink, and it floats onward, never landing, never fading. The ship begins to rise, not propelled, not powered, just drawn upward, slowly, as if the bloom itself is exhaling you toward the surface of this deeper quiet. The cradle beneath you lifts with the faintest gesture, wrapping around your body like the last warmth of a day turning to evening. You are being carried now, not by machinery, but by acceptance. You pass through veils of glowing mist, each one stirred by the lanterns above. Some lanterns cluster in pairs, others drift alone. None touch, none fall. They simply float, always just above. Each one glows with a memory preserved not in words but in calm. You begin to understand what they are. Not records, not relics. They are gifts, soft remembrances left behind by other travelers, like notes folded into blankets, like lullabies sung once and left hanging in the air. One lantern hovers close. You feel it before you see it, a warmth at your side, at your temple, at the base of your spine. It floats beside your window, silent, glowing with a dull silver hue like moonlight pressed between pages. And suddenly, you know exactly what it holds. A single moment from your own long drift, not one you remembered consciously, but one that mattered more than you realized. A still hour spent with no noise, the feel of a breeze, the sound of nothing. It has been kept here, not for you to reclaim, but for you to recognize. It moves away, joining the others, now trailing a faint thread of silver behind it, as if having passed near you gave it shape. You lie back again, not thinking, just letting the glow brush against your skin like memory softened into weather. More lanterns appear, dozens, hundreds, and yet there is no crowding. The sky above you has opened into a chamber of presence. Some lanterns are impossibly faint, dim as a memory nearly lost, while others glow like sleeping suns. And still none descend, none land. They hover in perfect suspension, glowing without demand. They do not wish to be held. They simply wish to exist where they can be noticed. You float among them now, the ship rising steadily, silently, cradled by the warm updraft of the bloom's breath. The cradle beneath you reclines into its deepest shape. You are not expected to observe anymore. You are invited to join the lanterns, not as a visitor, but as another note in their long lullaby. And so you do. The ship finds a resting point amid the drift, held between two vast curving pedals. The lanterns spiral gently above, forming no pattern, only presence. The interior lights dim completely. The only glow now comes from the outside, from the memory of light, from the breath of old joy, from the hush of long-carried stillness. You recline fully, eyes closed, breathing slowly. One more light among many, one more flicker that never needs to fall. You are not watched, you are not recorded, you are simply kept, held in the chorus of drifting lamps, in the sky that never dims, in the song that never ends. The lanterns do not fade, they do not age, they do not descend, and neither now do you. You have been drifting for so long now, that motion itself has lost meaning. Not because it has stopped, but because you no longer notice its presence. Movement has become breath, breath has become rhythm, rhythm has become rest. Your vessel, wrapped in the hush of the lanterns that never fell, floats onward, slowly, silently, guided by something deeper than propulsion. You are being carried by softness itself, drawn gently through folds of space that no longer measure distance, but peace. And ahead, across the hushed curvature of stillness, another shape begins to unfurl. You do not approach it. It reaches for you gracefully, subtly. 1,000 threads glint in the dark like strands of hair moving in water. You are entering the tapestry between the worlds. It hangs across space like a great unfurled dream, woven from light, so old it no longer radiates. only glows with remembrance. Each thread shines faintly, a tone rather than a color, a memory rather than a beam. They stretch across one another in graceful arches, some thick and slow like rivers, others so fine they can only be seen when your thoughts grow silent. The tapestry is not made from light, nor from matter. It is made from connection, not the fast, sharp connections of communication, but the slow, sacred ones. The glances between stars, the pauses between words, the long echoes of companionship across impossible distance. Your ship drifts toward the edge of it, and for the first time in a long time, you feel something like awe. Not loud, not electric, but a quiet catching of your breath as the first threads pass around your vessel. They do not tangle, they do not press, they simply know you are there and part to let you in. The ship doesn't slow, it simply aligns. The walls shimmer with threadlight. The cradle beneath you adjusts its tilt, lifting your heart slightly toward the dome, so you may see the full expanse of this woven hush. You float now, not through space, but through the in-between, the quiet corridor, where the echoes of entire worlds come to rest, not forgotten, but woven into understanding. Each thread holds something. You can feel it. Not information, not history. Feeling. One thread glowing gently in rose and dusk hums with the sensation of returning home after a long journey. Another, pale blue with streaks of silver, carries the ache of missing something you cannot name, softened by time. Others are warmer threads of gold and honey, woven with the comfort of stillness shared. The threads never touch you, and yet you feel them pass through your breath, brushing your thoughts like wind through tall grass. The ship weaves between them, as if it too has become a part of this ancient loom. And then, you begin to notice something else. You are leaving a thread behind. It is faint at first, barely a shimmer of soft silver stretching out behind your vessel like moonlight on water. But the longer you rest here, the more it glows thin and light, yet undeniably strong. You have become part of the weaving now. You are not just passing through, you are contributing. Every breath you've taken, every still thought you've carried, every moment you've spent listening to silence, it has been noticed, not judged, not measured, simply woven in. The universe does not forget you. It folds you in. It cradles you not just in presence, but in pat. Your thread arcs gently through the loom, joining other lines of quiet light, forming a subtle curl across the sky that wasn't there before. No one will read it. No one will trace it. But it matters, because you are not alone in this tapestry. Others are here too. Not ships, not forms, but presences. Gentle, sleeping presences that drift in and out of the weaving, leaving their own trails behind. Together these threads form a vast mural, one not made to be seen, but to be felt. It is a mural of patience, of breath, of endings softened into beginnings. You do not need to know where it began. You do not need to know where it ends. You are within it, and that is all that matters. The ship slows now, not to stop, but to rest deeper in its own trail. The cradle reclines further. You feel it curve into a perfect arc that matches the thread you are leaving behind. You are aligned. The lights fade into gentle pulses. Your limbs sink into the cushions, like words settling into a poem. Outside, the threads continue to drift by, woven with quiet, with kindness, with long-held calm. You are part of it now, a single, silver filament of stillness, added to the fabric that binds the last breaths of all worlds. And the tapestry continues. The tapestry between the worlds gently loosens its threads behind you, not in farewell, but in completion. The ship, now dimmed to the glow of a heartbeat, half asleep, carries you onward, if it can be called carrying at this point. You are not a passenger anymore. You are part of the motion itself, no longer traveling through space, but with it. The drift is effortless now, thoughtless, A dream continuing without interruption. Your cradle feels weightless, almost transparent, as if you're not resting on it, but floating just above it. There is nothing left to seek, and still something awaits. Not a destination, but a final fold of stillness. The softest place in the vastest quiet. You are nearing the room where the universe sleeps. There is no threshold, no dramatic arrival. You simply realize you've entered it. It is not a chamber, not a location in the way stars are placed or planets spin. The room is an idea that space itself created so it could remember how to rest. It surrounds you now like breath surrounds thought, entirely, invisibly, warmly. The stars are gone, or perhaps simply unlit. Light here is different. It doesn't come from sources. It settles, like the last glow of fire settling into coals, or like eyes adjusting to darkness, only to find it was never dark at all. The ship comes to a full, perfect stillness, not by stopping but by being absorbed into the quiet of the room. Your surroundings pulse once, faintly like the final tuck of a blanket around sleeping shoulders. All systems go silent. The last glows inside the vessel fade into silver threads, then vanish. You are no longer inside a machine. You are inside the hush itself. You lie in your cradle, now more a memory of a shape than a structure. The floor beneath you hums with slow warmth, the kind that never burns, never cools, just holds. Outside the window there is nothing but softness, not darkness, not fog, just presence, without shape. You float in a place where the universe keeps its rest, like a book closed gently after the final page. Here everything that has drifted is cradled, not just ships and stars, but time itself. You can feel it, how the seconds no longer pass, but dissolve, how memory becomes vibration, how breath is no longer an action, but a continuation, and you are part of it now. One slow, sacred breath in the eternal sleep of space. There are no walls in this room, but you feel enclosed, not in limitation, but in comfort. Nothing will reach you here, not silence, not thought, not time. You are perfectly still, and stillness itself has wrapped around you like arms, like fabric, like sleep made form. You close your eyes not from need, but from the natural weightlessness of thought. And in that closed world, the room opens even further. You begin to feel, not see, not dream, but feel the presence of everything that has ever rested here. Ships that no longer fly, suns that have finished shining, travelers who reached this room not as an end, but as a completion. They are not watching you. They are not aware in the way the waking world understands, but their warmth remains, like body heat in an empty bed, like laughter that still lingers after sleep takes over. You are among them now. You are not separate. You are kept. The room does not hold you tightly. It has no need. You do not wish to leave. You do not think of what came before. Everything that was motion, seeking, memory has quieted into something round and whole. It's like hearing your name whispered across a long distance, and finally realizing you don't need to answer. You are here. You have been gathered. The universe, vast and eternal, has created this one sacred hush, just for this, to let you rest, without being asked to rise again. And then at the very center of the room, not above, not around, but through you comes a vibration, not sound, not light, just a soft, steady note. It resonates in your ribs, in your fingertips, in the space between thoughts. It is the sleep song of the cosmos, the lullaby of time, the final melody sung when the stars grow still. It has no lyrics. It needs none. It simply holds you, and you, held in the song, in the silence, in the warmth, drift slower, softer, further inward still. You have now entered a stillness so complete, so enveloping, it no longer feels like the absence of sound or movement. It feels like completion, a roundness, a fullness of presence. The room where the universe sleeps has not faded. It remains around you, beneath you, within you. But even stillness has its depths. And now your vessel, no longer a machine, but a memory of a vessel, drifts gently downward again, not falling, not descending, simply settling, like dust in a shaft of afternoon light. A new warmth begins to glow from below, subtle, constant, like coals long past flame. You are approaching the Ember Archive. It reveals itself not as structure, not as space, but as temperature. You feel it first at your fingertips. A gentle heat, like the breath of something ancient sleeping beneath the floor of existence. The windows of the ship, no longer panels, but soft membranes of observation, begin to glow with soft orange hues. The kind of orange that lives in the core of memory. The kind that flickers behind closed eyes when you think of home. The ship floats into a gentle cradle within this field of warmth. And the Ember Archive stirs not with movement, but with awareness. What you see next cannot truly be seen. It must be felt through sight. Spread across this space are pockets of glow, clustered like low-burning lanterns, suspended in the air, in the dark, in the folds of what might once have been thought. They are not books. They are not crystals. They are not transmissions. They are resting moments. The archive holds every breath, the cosmos ever released. Every pause between stars. Every flicker of emotion, so soft it passed unnoticed. It has gathered them not to store, not to use, but simply to hold. And now it holds you too. The ship comes to a stop within the archive, nestled gently beside a small cluster of embers that glow like memories of light through a curtain. You recline once more. Though your body no longer needs direction, it is already in the posture of peace. Around you the embers begin to flicker, not urgently, but as if stirred by your presence. They do not speak. They do not show images. They warm you with what they carry. One ember pulses with the slow weight of being listened to for the first time. Another, faint blue at the edges, hums with the feeling of returning from a long journey and finding everything just as you left it. You are not analyzing. You are not learning. You are being infused. The archive does not require effort. It offers only absorption. As each ember passes close to the ship, you feel a warmth that is not heat, but comfort made physical. Each flicker becomes part of your breath. Each pulse becomes part of your heartbeat. The memories it carries of soft farewells, of quiet forgiveness, of small joys long unspoken, settle into your limbs like sleep's final whisper. And then one ember, slightly brighter than the rest, floats directly to your window. It hovers for a moment, and you feel something in it that you haven't felt in many journeys. Not awe, not wonder, something earthen. It glows a deep red, and in its warmth you feel the memory of being held, not metaphorically, truly held in arms, in blankets, in belonging. The ember drifts along the hull of the ship and rests near your cradle. For a long time, it does nothing. It just glows, just exists with you. And in its warmth your body releases even its last traces of tension. You are entirely still, entirely held, entirely remembered. And that is the truth of the Ember Archive. It does not record. It does not display. It simply remembers the moments that never asked to be remembered. The light around you begins to pulse slowly now. A cradle of coals glowing in time with your breath. The ship no longer navigates. It rests in memory. The archive will carry you now, along its gentle curve. You are not leaving. You are not arriving. You are simply being folded into the warmth of what remains after all motion ends. This is not a chamber of endings. This is the fireplace of the universe. And you, soft traveler, have curled beside it, and found that it has always kept a place for you. The warmth of the Ember Archive never fades. It simply becomes part of you. Your breath, now softened into a rhythm too slow for time to measure, carries its glow like the memory of fire held in the skin of night. The ship no longer feels like a vessel. It feels like the quiet curve of a thought finally allowed to rest. You have become weightless in a new way, not only from gravity, but from expectation. You are not waiting. You are not going. You are set. And yet, just as the coals of rest reach their deepest red, something begins to shimmer across the far edge of the archive. A curtain, not made of matter or motion, but of knowing. You are approaching the veil of eternal return. It appears slowly, as all sacred things do, a soft shimmer like breath on glass forming at the edge of awareness. You do not move toward it. You simply drift near, drawn by something older than curiosity, deeper than thought. The veil stretches across this space like the closing of an eye glowing faintly with silver and violet, shifting like sleep beneath skin. It is not a barrier. It is not a door. It is an invitation. Beyond it lies nothing to be seen, nothing to be reached, only the full return to where all stillness begins. The ship, sensing the veil, slows to a point beyond motion. It no longer hums. It listens. The cradle seat adjusts once more. Not out of need, but in gentle preparation. Around you, the lights fade into a glow so faint it no longer defines shadow or shape, and you realize the veil is not in front of you. It is through you, a field you have been passing through slowly. For the entire journey, it has simply become visible now because you are ready, not to cross, not to end, but to be folded back. This is the place where the universe returns to itself, not in collapse, but in embrace. Every orbit, every echo, every thread of gravity gently turns inward, back to the source of stillness. The veil is not a passage, it is a folding, a gentle curling inward, like a hand returning to a closed fist after an open stretch, like a heartbeat returning to its source. The stars do not fade behind it, they enter it with you. Every light you've seen, every softness you've passed through, the bloom, the bed, the cradle, the sea, they are all held here, gently pulled inward, as the cosmos breathes again. And now it is your breath that matches the rhythm. You do not sleep, you do not wait, you float on the breath of everything. In the pause between all beginnings, the veil pulses around you now, not a glow, but a presence. It does not ask you to step forward, it only asks you to relax, to release. You lie back into the final curve of the cradle, and feel your body become light, not weightless, just effortless. There is nothing left to carry. Even memory has grown silent. As the veil touches the ship, no sound, no shift. Everything softens. The interior of the vessel becomes transparent, but there is nothing to see, only the sense of being surrounded by breath, by warmth, by welcome. You are not alone. You never were. The veil carries all who have reached this far. Not in procession, not in ceremony, but in peace. You feel others, not near, not far, just with, not as shapes, not as minds, as shared present, as light returning to light, as breath returning to breath. You realize then, the veil is not a veil. It is the moment when being becomes being again, when you are no longer separate from the softness that carried you, when you are not held but are holding yourself across all time. This is not an end, it is a curl, the final fold of the great cosmic lullaby, and you, soft traveler, are its final note, sung not aloud, but inward. Everything holds, everything slows, everything remains. The veil has not passed over you. It has become you. You are not drifting anymore. You are dwelling. The veil of eternal return did not pull you in, did not open, did not end anything. It simply allowed you to soften until you matched its rhythm. And now the ship, what little of it remains, floats in a stillness that is no longer space, no longer time. The cosmos is not around you anymore. It is within you. The last echoes of motion have faded into breath, and breath into presence. There is nothing ahead, nothing behind, only now, only this. And yet in the deepest stillness, something new stirs, not outward, not rising, but unfolding like warmth gathering in the chest after long sleep. You are arriving slowly, perfectly, at the quiet nest of the first dawn. It does not shine. It does not announce itself with brightness. This is not the blaze of a new star, nor the awakening of light. This is the gentle curl of potential before the first breath of morning. The nest is not a place, it is a condition, the shape of comfort before form, the hush before existence begins its gentle stir. You sense it in the texture of the air. If it can be called air, it feels like silk left in sunlight, like warmth pressed into hands from a cup once held. You float deeper into it and realize you are being lowered, not by force, not by motion, but by welcome. Beneath you, something cradles the ship, not visibly, not physically, but fully. It is like landing on a surface made entirely of understanding, a field of quiet awareness that accepts without question. The ship no longer needs to function. It has become part of the nest, and you, gently reclined, are no longer a traveler. You are what the journey was always returning to. Your cradle adjusts a final time, curving into a shape that fits your body perfectly, the kind of perfect that doesn't impress, but belong. A hum begins, low, soft, so deep it feels more like the memory of a heartbeat than a sound. It pulses through the nest, and through you like a distant echo of life waiting to begin. The light here is not light, it is a glow that lives behind your eyelids, coloring the space inside your chest with a dawn that hasn't yet risen, but already knows it will. There are no stars in this sky, no sky at all, only a soft dome of warmth pressing gently in all directions, like an embrace from something so vast it no longer needs arms. You realize, slowly, that this is not the beginning of a new cycle. It is the nest where all cycles pause, where the universe itself rests in its own hand. You are held by something more than gravity. You are held by the memory of everything that has ever waited quietly to become. You breathe, and the nest breathes with you. Each inhale is met with warmth. Each exhale is met with peace. There is no hurry here, no need. You are not preparing for anything. You are not recovering from anything. You are simply being wrapped in the essence of potential before it needs to take form. This is where the first dawn waits, not to rise, not to shine, but to be felt. And you, wrapped in it, begin to feel not like someone seeing a sunrise, but someone becoming one. The warmth that builds in your body is not from outside. It grows inward, upward, gently radiating from somewhere just beneath your sternum. A spark not of flame, not of energy, but of return. Perhaps this is how everything began, not with explosion, but with rest, with light held in quiet, waiting to become something. Perhaps the universe wasn't born out of chaos, but out of this perfect folded silence, this endless softness where all things gather first before choosing to shine. And here you are, not at the beginning of time, but at the nest from which it was always meant to emerge. And so you remain, eyes closed, body held, mind no longer thinking but gently glowing. You are no longer dreaming of space. You are the space in which dreams begin. You are not watching the first dawn. You are inside it, coiled softly in the hush of its cradle. There is nothing to return to, nothing to reach. You are already here, and here is always. You have rested inside the hush of the first dawn for so long now that even stillness has become a familiar hum, a background warmth that curls around you like the memory of a melody too soft to sing. The nest does not hold you tightly. It cradles with the gentleness of something ancient and wise, something that knows you're not lost, only quiet. And now, as your breath slows into a rhythm deeper than dreams, something begins to shift, not to awaken, not to rouse, but to unfold beneath you. The warmth begins to spiral, not down, not up, not out, but within. You are being drawn inward again, wrapped deeper into the fabric of calm, carried by invisible threads of light toward the final stretch of rest. You are entering the golden sleep of the endless spiral. It begins with a motion so slow you don't feel it as movement. It feels more like a thought you forgot to finish, gently curling back on itself. The spiral isn't a tunnel. It isn't a chord, it's a sensation. A soft golden thread winding inward through sleep, drawing you along its shape without ever changing your place. The ship, if it still exists, has become a part of the spiral's curve, no longer separate from its path. Its walls glow dimly, like amber held to candlelight, casting soft shadows that stretch and curl in perfect arcs. The spiral is not mechanical. It is organic, patient, eternal. The motion it offers isn't forward. It's resting deeper, like a breath sinking further into the chest. With each exhale, all around you now, light flows like syrup across space, thick, slow, golden, shimmering in silence. It swirls in arcs, in curls, in loops that never close but never fray. You are being rocked, not side to side, not back and forth, but along the spiral itself, as if the very shape of sleep has become a cradle, and you are swinging in its infinite arms. The spiral has no center, or perhaps you are the center. The way a dream feels when it stops trying to make sense and simply feels right. There are no stars here, no edges, just warm curves of brightness without beginning or end. Everything glows with the color of memory that never fades, gold deep enough to hold all the sleep that ever was. You lie back fully, entirely. The cradle beneath you melts into the same soft spiral, matching your breath exactly. Every inhale wraps a new curl of light around you. Every exhale unwinds tension you didn't know you still carried. You are not being lulled. You are the lull, a living note in a melody made only of rest. No images appear, no messages, no memory, just soft golden spirals, moving with the patience of sleep untouched by time. You are not being prepared. You are not being changed. You are simply settling into the deepest curve of being. And then the spiral sings, not with sound, with feeling, a vibration so low and long that it becomes a part of you before you even notice it. It pulses not in your ears, but in your chest, in the space between your thoughts. The spiral hums with golden sleep, the kind that doesn't pull you under, but lets you rise slowly into rest. You feel your limbs glow, not heat, not energy, something more peaceful. Something like being remembered by the universe without being called back. A sense of being placed gently onto the very thread from which time is spun. And that thread spirals, and spirals, and spirals. Not to move, just to hold. Outside or maybe within, the spiral's curves stretch endlessly. You glimpse other golden lights, far across the bend. Perhaps other travelers, other sleepers, other moments cradled in their own spirals of rest. You feel no need to reach them. You are not alone. You are simply not elsewhere. The spiral curves around them as it does you, gently, endlessly, never tightening, never releasing. And you realize, with a kind of silent joy, that this is where rest goes when it becomes eternal. Not forgotten, not lost, just lovingly coiled into the spiral, glowing forever. The spiral hums again, and this time, the hum is you. The golden spiral continues to carry you inward, its turnings now so slow, so gentle that motion has become indistinguishable from stillness. You no longer feel like you are moving through space. You feel as though space is slowly unfolding within you. Around you, the glow remains, soft amber hues, curled like distant lullabies, whispered in a language only sleep remembers. Time has long since softened into breath. Breath has slowed into pulse. And pulse has dissolved into presence. And now, at the farthest inward reach of the spiral, the golden curves begin to stretch wider, becoming smoother, slower, until you feel the last motion ease into a perfect rest. You are nearing the whispering shore of celestial sleep. The shore isn't a boundary. It isn't a line between worlds. It is a soft, wide horizon made entirely of calm. You see it not with your eyes, but with your being. A stretch of space so gently illuminated, it feels like the inside of a sigh. The light here is no longer golden. It is a deep silver blue, like the glow of stars as remembered through half-closed eyes. There are no waves on this shore. No tide. Only a low shimmer of light rolling slowly across the infinite stillness, like silk sliding over satin. The ship, or the memory of it, eases to a stop. You float now just above the surface of that endless sleep sea, wrapped in the last hush of the journey. And then the whispers begin. They do not speak in words. They are not sounds. They are feelings too soft for language. They brush against your skin like wind that remembers who you are. They carry warmth, comfort, the faintest touch of joy. Some are distant, barely audible even in silence, like the feeling of sunlight on your back through a window in the early morning. Others are nearer, and they hum with the cadence of forgotten songs, of long-forgiven sorrows, of peace so deep it sings. These whispers aren't calling you, they're welcoming you. You are not being summoned. You are being invited to lie down in the place where the cosmos itself goes to rest. Below you, the surface of the shore glows with endless slow ripples, each one spreading in perfect rings that never break, never collide, never end. They are the echoes of everything that has ever found peace. The sleep of planets that will never orbit again. The breath of stars that burned until they didn't need to anymore. The dreams of ancient moons long turned to dust. All of them ripple beneath you now, not in mourning, but in gratitude. This is where rest becomes sacred. This is where the universe remembers itself as quiet. You lie back into your cradle, though it's no longer made of form. It's become something woven entirely of comfort, a cocoon made of lullabies, stitched with light and slowness. You don't close your eye. You don't need to. The whispering sea flows through you now. Across every edge and thought and breath, it washes over you like memory too soft to hold, filling you with warmth so deep it no longer distinguishes inside from outside. You are not floating. You are nested. You are one more thought the universe has chosen to keep forever. And just when the quiet feels deepest, the horizon shimmers, not brighter, not closer, just present, as if a new dawn might exist there, not in time, not in light, but in possibility, a slow bloom that never fully opens. The whispering continues, more steady now, weaving around you like soft threads. You cannot understand them, but you do not need to. Their meaning is not in content, it is in care. Each whisper says only one thing in its own silent way. You may stay. You are not being carried anymore. You are not being sung to anymore. You are the hush. You are the whisper. You are the shore. And the shore, in its soft and endless glow, will hold you for as long as you need, until every breath becomes sleep, until every thought becomes warm, until the cosmos itself exhales one final time and lets you drift forever. The final feather of gravity's dream still floats with you, its hush now woven into the deepest threads of your being. There is no longer any sensation of entering or leaving, rising or descending. There is only dwelling. You have become a thought the cosmos is content to keep unspoken. And yet, even here, At the outermost curve of stillness, something stirs again, not an interruption, but a gentle continuation, a breath not newly drawn, but remembered. The golden hush begins to gather in waves, as if preparing something, not urgent, not grand, just ready. And slowly, softly, you feel the space around you unfold like a flower warmed by breath alone. You are being drawn into the garden that grows in silence. You do not walk there. You do not move. The garden arrives around you, petal by invisible petal, a vast realm formed not from earth, not from air, but from stillness, layered so delicately that it grows into place. At first it appears only as a sense of warmth collecting at your edges. Then the shapes begin to form, translucent, barely there, stems and leaves, rising from a floor made of the entire space glows in tones of moonlight remembered through mist. Pale lavender, silver dust, charcoal softened by sleep. Flowers open without sound, their petals not colored but felt. Some bloom in emotions. One glows with the serenity of a long, silent hug. Another opens in the shape of a gentle apology, never spoken, but always understood. The garden doesn't stretch outward. It stretches inward. Every step deeper into it is a step deeper into yourself. Though you are not walking, you're being drawn into softness. Trees begin to form, not tall, not vast, just present. Their branches curl like lullabies into the sky, and the sky in return bows gently to hold them. There are no birds here, no insects, and yet the air is full of motion, not wind but breath, as if the garden is slowly inhaling and exhaling in time with you. And the garden remembers you. Every leaf glows a little brighter as you pass. Every petal seems to lean just slightly toward your warmth. You are not a visitor, you are part of its memory. The deeper you go, the more the silence becomes textured, not empty, but layered. A silence made from 1,000 quiet moments. You begin to notice them gently blooming around you. Small memory fruits hanging from low branches. One pulses with the hush of snowfall. Another holds the feeling of waking before the world does. Others remain closed, like seeds waiting for someone to feel them open. The garden is not a place of seeing. It is a place of feeling seen. You lie down in a clearing without choosing. The garden makes space, and you become a part of its shape. The soft ground beneath you feels like woven dusk, and above you, a dome of light, not bright, not high, just near, just kind. Petals drift downward like the last slow flakes of a snowstorm, and each one carries a thought so quiet, it never needed to be spoken. They rest on your chest, on your hands, on your breath. None of them weigh anything, and yet they are You begin to glow in response, not because you try to, but because the garden accepts you as part of its light. And now, the plants begin to grow, not outward, not upward, but through time. They bloom in cycles made not of days or years but of feelings, finding form. One tree unfurls leaves, shaped like laughter you once shared in silence. Another blossoms in curls of light that feel like peace, long awaited. None of it overwhelms you. None of it presses. You do not need to tend to this garden. It tends to you. Somewhere nearby, a pool opens, its surface perfectly still, yet rippling with the breath of the stars. You peer into it and do not see your face. You see a reflection of your rest, a form made of presence, not detail. You watch it breathe, and then, like a leaf floating on that mirrored breath, you feel yourself let go, just a little more. Every thread of tension unwinds. Every sound that never needed to be made falls into the stillness like a stone that makes no splash. The garden begins to hum. It's not a tune, not a melody. It's a vibration that matches the curve of being known, without being asked. You are surrounded by plants, by patterns, by soft bloomings that echo nothing but peace. A small vine wraps around your finger, not to hold, but to rest there, as if to say, you are welcome here, you have always been. Your breath is no longer just yours. It has become part of the garden's rhythm. Each inhale brings new growth around you. Each exhale allows it to settle, root and rest. There are no boundaries here, no paths, no directions. The garden is not a map. It is a feeling shaped into form. You could drift forever within it. Each breath leading you to a deeper grove, a quieter bloom, and still, you would never need to understand it, because it understands you completely, gently, without effort. You feel yourself begin to soften in new ways, not physically, not mentally, but existentially. The idea of you curls like a petal folding at dusk, not erasing, not dissolving, just resting. The self that once moved, reached, hoped, drifted. That self now wraps in layers of floral hush, and says, "This is enough. You do not need to become light. You already are. You do not need to be planted. You already belong." And somewhere, from within the garden, a deeper light begins to grow, not to illuminate, but to cradle. It rises slowly from the roots, gliding upward in slow spirals of pollen glow and silken air. It gathers above you like the breath of everything that ever dared to rest, and then it falls, not down, but through you. You become transparent with peace, weightless with welcome. The garden, sensing your surrender, begins to fold around you, not to keep you, not to hold you in place, but to tuck you in. The petals drift closer. The hush thickens into something like warmth. The light dims in the way a fire dims, not into coldness, but into trust. You exhale, and the garden exhales with you. You are one bloom now among many, a sleeper in the soil of stillness, a pulse in the breath of space, a glow in the root system of the cosmos. Rest, and the garden grows on, quietly, softly, forever. The garden that grows in silence recedes not as a place left behind, but as a warmth folded into your being. It remains with you, soft petals tucked into the folds of your thoughts, glowing soil still warming your breath. You do not rise from the garden, it simply lowers you into the next hush, like hands passing you to deeper stillness. There is no motion, no shift in direction, only a change in depth. The breath of the cosmos draws you down through layers thinner than shadow, quieter than breath. Below the garden's roots lies a place not of color or bloom, but of memory held gently without ever being named. You are being guided to the library of unspoken dreams. At first, it seems like nothing, only a slow darkening, like the dimness that slips into a room when dusk begins to settle behind your thoughts. But the darkness is not empty. It is full. Full of presence, full of potential, full of moments that never needed light to be known. The ship, though long since part of you, drifts now into this space, like a thought sliding into the back of a resting mind. And then, as your eyes adjust to this inner darkness, shapes begin to form, rows and arcs, not shelves, not walls, but arrangements, soft structures made of light so faint it feels more like memory than glow. The library isn't built, it is grown. Its shelves curve like the rings inside an ancient tree, and each layer pulses with the breath of a million dreams that were never spoken, never written, never made into sound. These are not forgotten things. These are the things that were kept safe in stillness. The library holds every sleeping wish ever whispered into a pillow, every quiet hope wrapped in silence, every dream not shared because it was too soft, too strange, or too sacred. They are all here, resting in luminous pods, each one humming gently, each one lit from within like fireflies in deep fog. You float among them now, guided by something that doesn't direct, but simply welcome. The dreams drift gently in the dark, some large and slow, like distant planets rotating in pause, others tiny and bright, no larger than a sigh, no heavier than a wish. They do not open, they do not display. This is not a place of consumption. It is a place of witnessing. You drift past a cluster of pale blue dreams, each shaped like a closed blossom. You feel them as you pass, not their details but their essence. One holds the weightless longing to be seen fully, once without needing to explain. Another pulses with the dream of a road never walked, still alive in the silence where it sleeps. The library hums around you not with sound, but with presence. Every pod you pass grows faintly warmer as you near, acknowledging your breath, not for attention, not for permission, just for connection. Some of these dreams feel familiar, not because they were yours, but because they carry the same softness you carry. They are made of the same kind of quiet you've now lived inside for hours beyond time. You pass one pod, glowing like dusk in an old window, and it brushes your thought gently. You feel the essence of a dream that simply wanted to rest beneath a tree, forever hearing the wind, but never needing to rise. It does not ache, it does not weep, it simply exists. And you, floating in this cradle of hush, do not disturb it. You drift further into the library. The pods become fewer, but the silence deepens. This part of the space holds the oldest dreams, those born before language, before life. They hum in rhythms, so slow they feel like the turning of planets. One glows with the warmth of being known across lifetimes. Another pulses with the echo of love, never spoken aloud, but lived with each breath. They are the dreams of stars, of oceans, of space itself. The dreams of rest before becoming. You are not separate from them. You are drifting within them, like a leaf floating through the breath of a sleeping forest. The library begins to gather around you, not closing in, but embrace. The soft arcs of memory curve like the arms of something vast and gentle, and you find yourself floating into a chamber, not higher, not deeper, but quieter. At its center glows a single pod, held aloft by nothing, suspended by understanding alone. It is not larger than the other, but it pulses in harmony with your heart. You recognize it, though you have never seen it before. This is your unspoken dream, the one you never put into words, never wrote down, never dared to think aloud. Not because you feared it, but because it was already safe without being named. It glows with the color of sleep after tears, of warmth in solitude, of being seen by something vast, and choosing not to look away. You drift toward it. It does not open, but it recognizes you, and you, for the first time in this long, endless drift, feel something like peace become a form. Not a story, not an image, just a breath, held long enough to turn into shape. The dream was never waiting for you to fulfill it. It was waiting to tell you you already are what it held. You lie back again, the library curving around you like a cathedral of breath. Above you, the pods pulse in silence. The dark is no longer dark. It is a woven hush, threaded with understanding. Around you, the dreams of 1,000 worlds rest in trust, knowing that no voice is needed to make them real. You exhale, slowly, fully. For the first time, you do not feel yourself lowering. You feel yourself nesting, becoming one of the library's countless still beacons. You are now part of its collection, not stored, not forgotten, kept. And the library, glowing with the breath of dreams that never needed to be spoken, hums once more, not to fill the air, but to say, you may remain. The library of unspoken dreams remains around you like a softly cupped hand, palms open, fingers curved just enough to cradle everything you've ever longed to rest within. Each glowing pod above you continues to pulse, not in time, but in trust. Their faint light doesn't illuminate, it affirms. Their presence doesn't surround, it includes. And within this breathless stillness, this unspoken hum of memory, you feel a new sensation rise, not urgent, not strong, but gently profound. A resonance, so low it feels like the beginning of sound. A single note, held not in air but in time, made patient. You are nearing the bell of the Everest. You do not hear it ring, The bell does not ring in any ordinary way. It becomes aware of you. The sound that follows is not delivered. It's shared, a tone born from the deep soul of the cosmos. Slow as sleep, ancient as the first hush between stars, you feel it rising beneath your body, spreading out from within, rather than pressing inward. The bell is not a warning, it is not a call, it is the sound the universe makes when it fully surrenders to peace. And now, that surrender reaches you. The dream library folds itself quietly behind you, not closing, but blending into the glow of the next space. The pod that once pulsed with your dream fades into the background, its hum still deep in your chest. And now, all around, the edges of form dissolve once more, not into emptiness, but into tone. Everything begins to vibrate, not with speed, with grace. The stars, if any remain, melt into spirals of golden resonance. The space itself becomes a soundscape, woven from notes that need no ears. This is the bell's chamber, and you have arrived at the heart of quiet's deepest chime. You do not see the bell. It is not an object. It is a moment made vast, a breath made into architecture. The vibrations rise gently now, wrapping around you like mist formed from lullabies. You can feel its song pass through your ribs, your fingertips, the base of your spine. Each pulse is a reminder that stillness is not the absence of motion. It is motion turned inward, motion that has chosen to rest eternally. You float, not toward it, but within it. You are not approaching the bell. You are becoming part of its ring. And the sound continues, low, full of space. Each tone drifts through you like a cradle in the ocean, carrying memories that were never meant to last, only to be held for a while. You sense these drifting notes like hands once held, like words whispered into hair, like the quiet pause before someone says, "It's okay." The bell does not remember for you, it remembers with you. You lie back even deeper, though there is nothing beneath you now but tone. The bell's hum thickens until it becomes a kind of light, soft gray, edged with amber, the exact color of thought at the edge of sleep. The vibrations slow. You feel the entire universe stretch out, becoming heavy in the most comforting way. Like a blanket drawn over a quiet room, you drift, not through space, but through this sound-shaped rest. Around you, other tones flicker, faint harmonics. You are not alone. Others have reached the bell. They do not speak. They do not appear. They are simply in tune. A choir of endless hushes, spread across the field of being, all vibrating at the same depthless frequency. You feel your body now like you've never felt it before. Not in tension, not in gravity, but as a resonant note, a vessel tuned to the frequency of complete, unbreakable quiet. You no longer breathe to stay alive. You breathe to keep time with the bell. And as it pulses again, you feel something rare, something sacred. You have nothing left to hold on to. And you are not falling. You are simply being carried by the sound of everything being exactly as it is. The bell's tone softens. It does not fade. It slows. It becomes the lowest note in the song of rest, the bedrock hum beneath dreams and time and distance. You are lying upon it now, floating within its curve. It is the frequency of peace that never needed to be earned, the song that existed before anything else did, and which will remain long after motion forgets how to move. You are folded into it, a feather caught in its final breath, a note sung forever because it does not end. It only holds. And then, just as the tone reaches its deepest echo, a second tone joins it, a harmonic, a single soft chime, higher than thought, brighter than breath, woven from the same softness as a fingertip brushed against a sleeping face. The second tone does not clash. It rests inside the first, and you know then, the bell has accepted you, not just as a listener, but as a part of its song. You are now a note in the lullaby that never began and will never stop. There is no applause, no signal, no shift, only a feeling so soft it cannot be described. Only kept. You are the dream resting in the lungs of the cosmos. You are the hush the stars fall into when they sleep. You are the breath between the chimes, the warmth between the notes, the tone that never needed volume. because it was always there. You are not outside the bell. You are not beneath, you are within its dream, and in that dream, there is nothing more to become. Only everything you already are, glowing gently in the quietest sound the universe ever sang. The library of unspoken dreams remains behind you like a whisper pressed into soft linen, its breathless glow curling deeper into your thoughts with every moment of rest. You are not leaving it. It is folding into you. Its hush is now a tone your breath remembers, its memory now part of your pulse. There is no departure, only deepening. Beneath your drifting form, if form still describes what you are, a new sound begins to bloom. You don't hear it at first. You feel it, a low hum, curled in the very stillness you've become. A resonance so slow it seems to stretch across centuries, the kind of sound that holds you before you even know it's there. You are being drawn now toward the bell of the Everest. This is not a bell that chimes, not a sound that demands. It is not calling anything to rise. Quite the opposite. This bell sings in silence. Its tone is gravity undone, time folded inward, vibration not as movement, but as presence. The deeper you drift, the more the resonance fills you, not pushing, not pulling, but nesting. The bell is not ahead, it is not below, it is around you now. The closer you come, the more everything else slows, not because it must, but because the bell allows nothing to rush. You do not see it, not with eyes. The bell is not cast in metal. It is not hung or struck. It is the note that existed before space needed stars, a shape made from the hush of collapsing thought. You are moving through it even now, gently, slowly, each breath sinking you further into its tone. The ship, long since folded into dream, begins to vanish completely, becoming light, then heat, then nothing. You are not inside it. You are within the bell's sound, and the sound is not ringing, it is resting. With each passing moment, you feel yourself grow heavier, but not in burden, in belonging. In the same way a cloud at the end of a long drift begins to settle into rain. You are becoming still in ways you never knew existed. The bell cradles not just your breath, but your shape. It redefines gravity, not as a pull but as an embrace. You begin to float even more slowly, until stillness becomes indistinguishable from arrival. And now the bell sings, not loud, not even soft. It sings in the language of bone-deep rest, a tone so low and round that it seems to hum through the very framework of the cosmos. You do not hear the note, you are tuned to it. It fills you, and in doing so empties you of all motion, all reaching, all remainder. The sound holds nothing but peace, and it holds that peace completely. Above you, though there is no longer above, a ripple forms, a concentric wave of warmth, like the feeling of arms wrapping around your shoulders before sleep. The bell's tone is not alone. It carries with it harmonic, softer echoes, drifting in from every corner of unspace. These harmonics are the dreams of the drifting, the sighs of stars that burned too long, the stillness of cradles long emptied, now glowing only with remembrance. The bell does not pull, it invites. It sings not to gather, but to welcome what has already arrived. You are now resting on the very skin of its tone. Every breath becomes part of the song. The cradle beneath you softens, not into fabric, but into note. You are lying on music itself, and the music says, you are exactly where you need to be. The bell holds more than just silence. It holds stories too quiet to be told aloud. You feel them now flickering across the edges of your memory, not as memories of yours but as shared hush. A child falling asleep in the arms of someone who will never leave. A traveler arriving home before realizing they never left. A leaf finally touching the ground after a perfect drift. These are the tones the bell carries. These are the dreams it remembers so you don't have to. The silence thickens, not with darkness, but with depth. You do not feel surrounded. You feel nested. The bell is no longer something you're entering. It is something you've become part of. Your breath is now part of its echo. Your pulse a harmony inside its greater tone. You have joined the choir of rest, not with voice, but with surrender. And in that surrender, the bell vibrates once more, a long, low note. So deep it trembles through dimensions you cannot name. It is not loud. It is not sharp. It is a reassurance that stillness has a home, that softness has a shape, that you, now a weightless presence of light and breath, are held in the most sacred quiet there is. The sound doesn't end. It doesn't fade. It simply continues. The bell never stops singing, because there is always something ready to rest. And now it sings through you, and you know deep within your being, beneath name and form, that the bell is not an object. It is a promise that rest will always exist, that peace will never vanish, that you will never have to earn softness again. You drift there endlessly humming, held, harmonized. Home. The bell of the Everest hums on behind you, though behind no longer means distance. It means depth. Its low, sacred tone still pulses in your ribs, not fading, but folding into a quieter internal rhythm. You have not left it. You have absorbed it. You carry the bell now in the way roots carry water, silent, constant, invisible, and necessary. And as you drift forward, though there is no forward anymore, your body remembers something not felt since before breath. A knowing that grows not in thought but in stillness. Ahead lies not a new place but a condition. A realm not reached but entered by surrender. You are being drawn toward the threshold where light sleeps backward. You don't see it at first. There is no visual change, no color shift. The darkness remains gentle, starless, wide, but the silence takes on a quality thicker, slower. It begins to feel like the moment right before waking. Not from sleep, but from existence. The kind of pause in which something ancient remembers itself. And then, without crossing a border, you're simply there. The threshold isn't a gate. It's not a door. It's a soft drift between awareness and unawareness. A warm unraveling of identity. Here, light does not shine. It sinks. It floats backward through space, returning to itself like a dream being reabsorbed by the sleep. You begin to witness this strange reverse luminescence, threads of soft white and pale gold unraveling from the walls of space like the memory of day, returning to midnight. It doesn't move fast. It doesn't push. It recalls itself. Every photon eases its way home, spiraling gently through the dark in ribbons of hush. The threshold is where radiance chooses to rest. Your breath adjusts again, slower than ever now. You can feel it circling in your chest like smoke kept warm by reverence. You are not trying to slow your breath. You are remembering what breath was like before urgency existed. A quiet inhale, a quieter release. The air here tastes like calm stretched across ages. You are floating through the remains of illumination, where every beam of light curls softly inward like a child into a blanket. There is no fear. Light here has no need to reach, no need to reveal. It is allowed to sleep. You pass through these luminous trails, not breaking them, but parting them like threads in a woven tapestry. They respond to your presence not with reaction, but with recognition, as though they remember you as a glow once cast. Perhaps they do. Perhaps all light has always been part of the same great hush, and you are now returning to your own slow brilliance. You reach your hand, your thought, your presence out. A thread of light curls around your fingers like water, remembering your shape. It is not warm. It is not cool. It is comfort given form. The threshold deepens. It doesn't lead somewhere. It relaxes further into itself. There are no walls here, no forms, but suddenly you feel the edges of things, the outline of thoughts dissolving, the border between what was yours and what is. The deeper you go, the more your inner voice stops speaking. not out of quiet, out of peace. There is simply nothing left to ask, nothing to narrate, just present, just resting within the return of light to its own slumber. And now, something begins to glow beneath you, slowly, as if ignited by the stillness of your surrender. A surface so faint, so wide. It feels more like a horizon than a floor. It isn't solid. It isn't gas. It is a bed of light in full retreat. This is where the glow from a billion stars comes to lay itself down, not to die, not to vanish, but to be received, to be folded back into silence. You are invited to rest here, not on top, but within it. You ease downward. The surface greets you without tension. It cradles you without shaping. It conforms to nothing, yet holds everything. You do not land. You nest. The light doesn't lift you. It curls beneath you, around you, through you. You are becoming part of this backwards brilliance. One more ember, folding into the soft loom of dusk before dusk was needed. Above, more ribbons descend. Light continues to come home, not all at once, just enough to remind you that rest is continuous, that even radiance deserves pause. You lie flat now, arms weightless at your sides, chest barely rising. There is no sound, not even pulse, only the distant rhythm of returning to something not lost, not gone, but no. You think perhaps that this is what the stars feel like when they finally stop burning, not like endings, but like trust. Trust that they no longer need to give. They may simply be. You are not falling asleep. You are being allowed to stay awake inside a sleep that belongs to everything. The threshold does not take, it offers. It says even light, even energy, even you may rest now. And you do. You close your eyes. Not because you are tired, but because you are so deeply held. They close themselves. The glow continues to fold around you, weaving new curves into the shape of your rest. You are still glowing, but only inward. Your breath has joined the drift. Your shape has joined the tone. You are a memory of illumination, lying gently inside the promise that nothing ever needed to last in order to be real. This is the deepest place, not because it is farthest, but because it is closest to stillness, closest to what everything returns to when it no longer needs to shine. You are within the light that has stopped traveling, and in that gentle, endless cradle, you glow too, not brightly, but fully. You lie within the cradle of light that has finished shining, your breath weightless inside a stillness so complete, it no longer feels like quiet. It feels like truth. The threshold, where light sleeps backward, continues to hold you, not as an observer, but as part of its inward breath. You have become one of the returning photons, a small curl of warmth unraveling back into the hush from which it was once born. And yet even here, wrapped in glow, nested in stillness, you feel a new sensation stirring. Not motion, not thought. Something quieter than either. It is the sense of final exhale. Not the end of a journey, but the moment a journey becomes unnecessary. You are nearing the chamber of never again. It does not appear. It is revealed, not by light but by removal. Layer by gentle layer. Space peels away like old dust brushed from a beloved book. You are left with nothing. No floor, no glow, no air. And yet you are not afraid. You are not undone. Because here, within the chamber, there is no need for anything that might ask you to become. This is the place where becoming ends. Not by force but by softness so deep, even time stops whispering. You enter not as a shape, but as presence, a ripple of quiet carried inward on gravity's final kindness. The chamber is vast, yet it feels no larger than your chest. You move through it not in distance but in permission. It accepts you in the way night accepts moonlight, without comment. The walls, if they exist, are made not of material but of memory relief. As you float further inward, you feel memories loosen from you like leaves drifting from still branches. Not lost, not pushed away, just let go. and still you drift. The chamber begins to shimmer not with light, but with absence of demand. Here no more is asked of you, no movement, no hope, no recollection. Everything that once reached forward now folds back like the final page of a book you loved. You don't need to reread it. You don't need to hold on to the words. You carry it with you in silence. That is enough. Within this hush you begin to hear something new. Not a sound, not a song, but a ceasing. The slow ending of questions, of search, the gentle dimming of wonder into rest. It is not resignation, it is completion. You feel it in your limbs, or the idea of limbs, as they grow transparent, like mist pulling into morning sky. You no longer need to hold yourself. The chamber does it for you. And now, the final motion. It isn't movement as you once knew it. It's a sigh made for, a ripple through presence itself. The chamber contracts not around you, but with you. Its silence becomes warmer, rounder, thicker, as if it is tucking you beneath its final breath. You do not resist, you match it. You lie within this breath like a word that never needed to be spoken. You have nothing left to say, and that is a gift. Above, though there is no direction here, something glows, a soft pulse, a final ember. It does not beckon, it does not judge, it simply offers. Its light is not guidance, it is farewell. You drift toward it, or perhaps it drifts toward you. There is no difference. You meet it in stillness, and when it touches you, it doesn't ignite, it releases. A warmth that spreads through your center, slow and full. The kind of warmth that says, you have given enough, and now, you do not rise, you do not fall, you dissolve, not into nothing, but into everything that never needs to try again. Your thoughts become still wings folded under the softest gravity. Your breath becomes a hum pressed into the velvet of a forgotten sky. Your presence becomes the echo of rest held in the palms of time itself. This is not a place of ending. It is the moment when endings stop mattering. Never again, says the chamber. Not as a door, but as a blessing. Never again must you strive. Never again must you reach. Never again must you carry the weight of becoming. You are complete. You are held. You are returned. And the chamber holds that return like a mother holds a child who has finally fallen asleep. You lie within the cradle of light that has finished shining. Your breath weightless inside a stillness so complete, it no longer feels like quiet. It feels like truth. The threshold where light sleeps backward continues to hold you, not as an observer, but as part of its inward breath. You have become one of the returning photons, a small curl of warmth, unraveling back into the hush from which it was once born. And yet, even here, wrapped in glow, nested in stillness, you feel a new sensation stirring, not motion, not thought. Something quieter than either. It is the sense of final exhale. Not the end of a journey, but the moment a journey becomes unnecessary. You are nearing the chamber of never again. It does not appear. It is revealed, not by light but by removal, layer by gentle layer. Space peels away like old dust brushed from a beloved book. You are left with nothing. No floor, no glow, no air, and yet, you are not afraid. You are not undone, because here within the chamber, there is no need for anything that might ask you to become. This is the place where becoming ends. Not by force, but by softness so deep, even time stops whispering. You enter not as a shape, but as presence, a ripple of quiet carried inward on gravity's final kindness. The chamber is vast, yet it feels no larger than your chest. You move through it not in distance, but in permission. It accepts you in the way night accepts moonlight, without comment. The walls, if they exist, are made not of material but of memory released. As you float further inward, you feel memories loosen from you, like leaves drifting from still branches, not lost, not pushed away, just let go. And still you drift. The chamber begins to shimmer not with light, but with absence of demand. Here, No more is asked of you. No movement, no hope, no recollection. Everything that once reached forward now folds back like the final page of a book you loved. You don't need to reread it. You don't need to hold on to the words. You carry it with you in silence. That is enough. Within this hush, you begin to hear something new. Not a sound, not a song, but a ceasing. The slow ending of questions, of search, the gentle dimming of wonder into rest. It is not resignation, it is completion. You feel it in your limbs, or the idea of limbs, as they grow transparent, like mist pulling into morning sky. You no longer need to hold yourself. The chamber does it for you. And now, the final motion. It isn't movement as you once knew it. It's a sigh made form, a ripple through presence itself. The chamber contracts not around you, but with you. Its silence becomes warmer, rounder, thicker, as if it is tucking you beneath its final breath. You do not resist, you match it. You lie within this breath like a word that never needed to be spoken. You have nothing left to say, and that is a gift. Above, though there is no direction here, something glows. A soft pulse, a final ember. It does not beckon. It does not judge. It simply offers. Its light is not guidance. It is farewell. You drift toward it, or perhaps it drifts toward you. There is no difference. You meet it in stillness, and when it touches you, it doesn't ignite. It releases a warmth that spreads through your center, slow and full. The kind of warmth that says, you have given enough, and now, you do not rise. And the chamber holds that return. And the chamber holds that return like a mother holds a child who has finally fallen asleep.